Reality.
UFOs.
Science.
Consciousness.
Sex, drugs, and rock and roll.
That might not be a real thing. The podcast. Or...
Hello to the world. Welcome back to the show. I'm your host, the Candyman, here with my co-hosts, Danny D and Sean Macca. As always, we got a special guest on today, William O'Mara, filmmaker, producer, cousin to me.
Yep.
But
not a neighbor.
Yeah, not just my neighbor. But interesting guy with some cool perspectives and some cool stories. Interviewed some people in some unique situations. Definitely the type of person I'd want to have on the show for an interview. So excited to have him here.
Happy to be here.
Yeah, and I'm just going to hand it right over.
All right. Well, William, I was thinking about this, and I was reviewing some of your work, and I was just saying, what the hell? How do you do this? How do you do all this? So why don't you just talk a little bit about in general, like what a director of a documentary does, what a producer does, like in your terms, like what have you done?
Sure.
Yeah.
That's a great question. So, I started out a little kid in school making videos with my friends. The school I went to in New Jersey, we had a good media program, so I always had the most fun in those classes. And I knew that's what I wanted to do with my life, so I got lucky enough to go to NYU Film School.
Oh, cool.
I'm gonna make a joke in honor of my friend's father who just passed away. When I got into NYU, my best friend's dad told me, he goes, "Oh, you know what they call NYU, right? Gay white Jew." And he's Jewish and he has a gay son, so you can make that joke. But rest in peace, Paul Rayshap.
Right out of the gate. But thanks a lot.
But yeah, so I studied. Over the course of my time in film school, I realized I wanted to be an independent documentary filmmaker. I had a mentor, Dr. George Stoney, who mentored a lot of people who went to NYU. He was a great filmmaker, great man, worked as a teacher up until he was 93, lived until about 96, and worked on a lot of different documentaries in his career and advocated for a lot of different social justice issues, from working with Native American people to working with prisoners at Rikers Island. Big inspiration to me and many other people. And then after college, I went to I went to Madagascar a couple times in college to make a film. My first directing gig was directing a documentary about the global water crisis, and I was in Madagascar doing a case study.
Badass, by the way.
Their water
There's
problems.
some cool animals there.
Yeah, the lemurs were a fun time. The chameleons are really
I like
badass.
the frogs, golden mantellas. They have little mantella frogs.
They made a whole series.
They're like
of
dart
movies.
frogs, but in Madagascar.
Yeah, well, let me tell you, based on talking to him years ago after you got back from that trip, it's not a fun place to go or live. Yeah, so you can film a lot of different types of documentaries, right? There's like, nature documentaries, there's documentaries about people's lives, there's all sorts of shit.
Mm-hmm. Politics, science.
Yeah, I feel like
sports. Yeah.
Like we're cousins, so I hear about your work through the chit chat, whatever.
But we talk too. You hear from me as well.
Yes, but I feel like your work thus far has been targeted really towards some social issues. Seems like that's what you go for.
Well, I only
give me the list.
I work on other people's films, so really it's just what I can get hired to work on, and hopefully it's something interesting to me.
But the Madagascar thing, that was your baby, right?
That was my first directing,
and that was about.
And this is the one I'm working on now. Is my second film directing, and there was a 15-year gap in between the first film I directed.
Now
and this one.
What's that film of the water called? It's
New World Water.
New World Water, yeah. And essentially in Madagascar, there's no clean drinking water for anybody.
90% of the country
unless you're
doesn't
super,
have
super
access
rich.
to sanitation or clean water. Correct.
Yeah.
Now, early in your career, you basically it's not you said you work on other people's projects because there's a point where you want to work and
You're
your
young.
passion.
Yeah, you gotta
and do
learn.
anything you can.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think people have a misconception about like you just jump in and either it's all or nothing. But sometimes you're working a little bit on this, a little bit on that. I have a bigger project, right? I mean, what's been your biggest project to date?
It depends how you measure biggest project to date.
Okay, that's true.
But, I would say like the one I'm most proud of is one of the first films I worked on out of college called Client 9, which was about the former governor of New York, Elliot Spitzer, and the hooker scandal.
I didn't know anything about it, but immediately it sounded like a hooker story to me. I was like, ooh, this sounds like a hooker story.
Yeah, it was fun. We got to interview
you
some
immediately had
really
my attention.
colorful people. And the thing for me, which blew my fucking mind, right? I wanted to work for this one company, and it took me a year to get a job there, unpaid internship at that. And when I finally got the gig, they said, well, this is what we got in the pipeline. We got this movie about Ken Kesey and the Merry Pranksters. I was like, that's fucking cool, Electric Kool-Aid Acid Test, all that. But then they said, we got this other movie we just signed the paperwork on, like the ink just dried on the contract to do this documentary about Elliot Spitzer. Now, my father works in insurance for this company called Marsh. They got sued for $800 million by him when he was Attorney General. My dad hated him, would curse his name to this day. So I went to my parents. I said, I finally got my dream gig. And guess what? Guess what the subject of the first movie I'm going to work on is? Elliot Spitzer, the guy who sued the shit out of my dad's company. And my brother was fresh out of college working for my dad's company. And my brother was one of the 3,000 people who lost their fucking jobs because of the lawsuit. So they were like, holy shit, this is awesome, And they thought that it was going to be somewhat of a takedown, I guess, of the guy. But really, the film is more lenient to the guy and highlights his success as Attorney General prosecuting Wall Street malfeasance.
It's like, look how great this guy is.
Yes, but they still tried to be critical and fair and balanced and call him out for being a piece of shit as a human being and a hypocrite
I'll tell you what.
with banging hookers while prosecuting Johns and agencies and whatnot.
Double standard. Yeah. Danny D would like to get a secret camera in that guy's bathroom to see what kind of shit he does when no one's looking.
Yeah, I love that. I love the idea of what people do when nobody's looking.
Well, we interviewed Roger Stone for that one. You guys know Roger Stone?
Yes, he's
we
wild.
interviewed him.
Who's that?
Wow, these guys.
You might not want to. You might not like what you see if you were to put a camera in there. You might open a Pandora's box.
Yeah.
It might be unseeable.
Yeah,
Unforgettable.
it just reminds me of Buffalo Bill. Like everybody's doing that.
Oh yeah. I'm sorry, Billy. Go.
No, it's all good. Elliot Spitzer, he was rumored to have sex with his socks on, so I think I don't think Danimal
That's
learned anything
fucked
from
up.
him.
No, that's fucked up.
I do it all the time.
No, the socks gotta go.
Why?
Because it's fucking weird.
I leave socks on sometimes. Whenever I don't care.
I wouldn't stop thinking about the socks.
No, I believe in full nudity for intercourse. I think it's something about it where you have to get you bare yourself naked before the eyes of gods and men.
I present I present it like here it is. What do you think about that?
This is what I have for you.
This is what I have. It's not much, but I present you with this.
I offer you. Simple as it is. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I either way, I wear socks sometimes.
But so that movie, I got 4 credits in the film. I did a little cinematography. I did a little editing. I did a little research and producing on it. So already I was starting to learn the different jobs that it takes to make a film. Because ultimately I wanted to be a director and a producer. And if you want to be good at that, you got to know everybody else's job. Because how the hell are you going to know what they're supposed to do? But that movie ended up getting shortlisted for the Academy Award for Best Documentary in 2009.
Oh, cool.
So should have made the official nomination list, but I guess it was a tough year. And it was a little political, which if you're not stuck in the academies,
Well, it's also highly competitive, right? All the documentaries.
There was thousands get submitted every year for the Academy. Yeah.
I get
so just to make it to the shortlist was kind of cool.
Does anyone?
I make it to the short bus.
You could. Does anyone in our family ever try to hook you up with Hollywood George that works for like Hallmark and CBS and all that? Our cousin George, he's been working for Hallmark and other channels of that syndication for like 15 years.
First time I'm hearing about it.
Get the fuck out of here.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
What?
Hallmark what?
You're telling me you're out there struggling? Yeah. Shut the fuck up. You're telling me that you're out there struggling as an artist for the last 15 years trying to make it. Meanwhile, George is over there working for primetime Hollywood, and we literally call him Hollywood George and not even,
Different coasts. I'm in New York where it's all about foreign films, independent films, and documentaries.
He used to
Hollywood's a different beast.
He doesn't live there anymore. He lives on the East Coast now. I think he lives in fucking New York, bro. Listen. I'm going to immediately get to the bottom of this after we get the podcast over. But I'm glad I asked the question. Because
me too.
this is bullshit, and I'm glad I unearthed it. But keep going.
Wait, so Sean, what was, I forget the root of the question about roughly?
That's going to happen a lot. But what is your job as the director of a documentary?
Okay, so oftentimes the director's also like the executive producer because they're the one who initially has a concept. In Hollywood, it's not the director; it's the producer who options the rights, and they start, and then they hire the director. But with documentaries, usually the director is also.
It's usually the director. It's his project.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm the one with the project from the beginning all the way to the end. Now I have other producers involved who are putting money in. I have other producers involved who are helping me actually make the film, and. I hire various crew members to help for shooting interviews. Some documentaries are verite, which means you're filming like someone's real life. You're following a person around. We're not a verite documentary. It's more talking head based and archival based. So when I'm filming, it's an interview. I'm in the chair asking the questions, and I have my crew around me, lights, camera, action. Yeah.
So how do you in the editing and cutting and all that, what's your role in that?
I'm also the editor of this. Now, not all directors are editors, and it's actually better oftentimes to have the editor be a totally different person because the director is usually too close to the material.
Well, they can see things too from like a second eye.
Yeah.
Like a second point of view.
Outside perspective.
It's good to have an outside perspective. I need it in my career. I need somebody to give me shit for something.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean,
everybody needs it, for everything.
Anything creative, you have to learn to embrace the critical criticism because you're never going to be good if you can't do that. If you're afraid of that, you're in the wrong field. Mm-hmm. So I don't even ask for feedback. I ask for critical criticism. I don't want you to tell me, oh, it's great or how much you liked it. That's not going to help me get better.
How can we make it better?
Exactly.
No, you need honest criticism too. Yeah. Not just to be a dick, but like if you can get honest criticism, that's a gift.
Yeah, absolutely.
Especially from people that like, I've learned a lot.
Well, giving critical feedback is an art in of itself.
You can
do it without being a dick.
I don't want to be cliche.
No, you can totally do it without being a dick.
Yeah, I don't want to be cliche and say that you learn more from your failures than you do from your successes. But I've had situations where like at work or different things where like I might have not I failed at a particular objective that I was trying to achieve, but after the fact that person who knew a lot about the field came to me and said like, look, example would be in a different life I used to work in sales, okay? And I went on like and I was killing it, right? I was like top sales guy all the time just because I have a good personality. I'm good with people, but I fucking hated the work.
I sold toy helicopters at BJ's.
Yeah, I hated the job.
Yeah.
Okay? Ooh. It wasn't for me. I was good at it, but it wasn't for me. Mm-hmm. But I felt like sales manager would have been good for me because I'm good at motivating other people and helping, keep the troops going. Mm-hmm. And so I applied for a lot of managerial positions. And, I was like, basically like one of 2 or 3 candidates that they were seriously looking at, and they kept not getting the job. Mm-hmm. And after the fact, the guy was like, look, this is the reason, he gave me the different, advices as to why I didn't get the job. And I learned a lot from that. And, later on, I didn't make that same mistake again,
Good for you.
And, I just think when you get criticism, and so that's like a complete fail, but the guy at least said, this is why you failed, And so a lot of people would be like, and cry about it. I'm like, all right, I was coachable, I took it and I was like, yeah. And so like with this show, we're just on here trying to have fun and spread some positivity. But like, I want to make it better. I want to make it I want to put a good product.
Can I jump in right here now?
Yeah,
do whatever you want.
I think we got to introduce the subject of the movie we're here to talk about because we haven't mentioned the word mass murder or mass shootings yet.
All right.
And I think the audience, it'll probably come up in the headline that people click on.
Man, you're good at this.
Oh no, we're gonna get there.
Yeah, let me know when you're ready because I've got some protocols I have.
Okay.
All right, tell us what the movie is.
Give us a snapshot.
Give us a low down.
So I'm currently directing my first feature-length documentary film.
What does that mean? 90 minutes or above?
Yeah, and
amazing.
And the subject matter is the mass shooting or mass murder phenomena.
So not necessarily in schools, but just anywhere where a guy shows up and decides
businesses,
to blow the hell
anywhere.
out of a place.
That's
Yeah,
weird. My
indoor,
wife and I just
outdoor,
talked
anywhere.
about that as we drove up. Didn't we talk about mass shootings on the way up? Mm-hmm. I didn't even know you were doing that, but go on.
Yeah, so the movie is called American History S, and the S stands for spree, because they used to be called spree killings up until the FBI decided to change the lexicon to active shooter in about 2006.
What's a lexicon?
Well, the vocabulary.
Why'd they do that?
The term du jour.
Yeah, I know, but like they I get it. They coined this phraseology.
Is it a euphemism?
Put it out there, now that's the accepted term. Like weapons of mass destruction.
It's the term preferred by law enforcement, especially when they're responding
military
to an
age
incident.
male.
Yeah. But I've interviewed many cops, and they don't like the term active shooter. They like the term active threat.
Yeah.
Because when the cops are showing up to the scene, if they don't hear anybody shooting, they're confused, right?
Versus shots fired, shit's going down.
Yeah, and so again, we talked before the podcast started. It could be any weapon. It could be a sword, a bow and arrow, fire,
Sure.
a bomb,
Molotov cocktail.
Yeah.
A rocket.
IED, improvised explosive device. All right, and that's a good point. I want to bring it up because I thought we were going to talk about gun control, and maybe we will get into it. But yeah, guns don't kill people. People kill people. Guns make it super fast and efficient and easy. But if you take those tools away, and this is the Star Trek reference for the week, okay?
Right.
On Star Trek V, The Final Frontier, they have this planet, Nimbus 3. It's the planet of intergalactic peace. And so they have all these different races trying to live on this, actual different people from different, species living on this planet together. And they've outlawed energy weapons, basically outlawed guns. Right?
They didn't want everybody killing each other.
Well, yeah, they're like, this is the planet of peace, no weapons. Well, very soon, the indigenous people just made new weapons of other designs and started fighting with those. And they went to the mayor and they're like, the guy that runs the place, and he's like, what do you want me to do? We outlawed energy weapons. They started fashioning them out of different things. Like, what are they going to? They'll figure out a way to kill each other, and that's the bottom line. Mass murder is like, in my opinion, and you've probably unearthed 10 times more than I have, but it's like a super complex issue that stems really from childhood with emotional ties, and there's other, like, I thought of it this week as some issues with like conflict resolution problem, like the way we resolve conflict, the way we teach our kids to like.
How about kids' interactions in schools?
Yeah.
So,
Let me
with each other.
Let me kind of go backwards though, because it's a complex subject, and there's a million different angles you can come at it from.
Where do you start? Where do you start at the which shooting? Is there a shooting you
For
start
me,
at? Or?
so it's called American
Suicide
History
bomb.
because we're looking at the history, right? And it actually, there's a lot of myths and misconceptions people believe popularly, especially today, especially in America, about the mass shooting phenomena. They believe it's a modern phenomena, it's exclusively American, and it's exclusively young white males. All three of those things are bullshit.
What's the history?
So my research goes back to 1903 in Winfield, Kansas, with Sergeant Gilbert Twigg.
All right, that is America.
Right, that is America.
That's further back than
Now we go. No. We go way further back. We go back to 1300 BCE. A war veteran named Odysseus, who was the king of Ithaca, and he is a part of the story, the Odyssey, which is one of the oldest, most famous stories of all time, which was about when the war ended.
Yes.
He had a 10-year journey to get back home.
10 years of war, 10 years home.
And now
20 years gone.
There's monsters, there's all these mythical creatures, a cyclops.
the Gorgie monster.
They start out by doing drugs. They start out eating the lotuses. Him and his war buddies, they'd eat the lotus flowers.
Weren't they
and
starving?
They talk to their dead friends in hell, the friends who just died in war. They go and talk to them in hell. And they do, there's women, Calypso, all this, that, and the other. But the ending, do you remember the ending of the Odyssey? What happens when he finally does make it back home?
Well, I don't know what you're looking for an answer, but I can give you some some general outlines. I know he's been gone for 20 years, so his son doesn't know what he looks like. He's aged 20 years. His wife doesn't know what he looks like.
Right.
And basically, he had a super powerful bow and arrow that nobody could put the string on.
Yeah.
Only Odysseus could do it. And he showed up and fucking stringed his bow in one shot, and everyone was like, it's the real him.
He was disguised as a beggar.
Oh, I don't know.
Athena disguised him as a beggar.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that. that's part of the tale, but I do know that that's what was the proof that it was him.
Well, he had the hottest, baddest wife in town, who also happened to be the queen.
Yeah.
So all the eligible bachelors,
but she didn't recognize.
were trying to holler.
You know,
There was a whole gang of
no
suitors.
one could string the bow.
They were living in off his largesse in his mansion, eating him out of house and home. That's why they sent his son Telemachus. The gods, Athena, said, "You need to go find your father if he's still alive."
So did he come home and kill everybody?
He came home and killed everybody.
Well, I mean,
How he did it, though, is incredible. What he did was...
Poison?
He locked the doors.
Fire.
Which is a technique used by modern-day active shooters, most famously at Virginia Tech.
Don't let the exits be a thing.
Exactly, right?
Kill box.
And also, you mentioned his legendary prowess with the bow and arrow. So before guns were invented, what was the most efficient tool for killing a lot of people?
If you were skilled in it,
if
bow
you were
and
skilled,
arrow.
what was he skilled at? Rapid reload and accuracy. So the closest thing to a guy with an AK-47 back then was Odysseus.
Oh yeah, you could rip it.
And he had the high ground. He had the high ground, like we saw in Las Vegas.
He just picked them off.
He killed 69 suitors.
Wow.
That's what's in the
69.
What are the historical records for that?
It's up there with the guy from Norway.
Yeah, but
Anders
like,
Breivik.
is this actually like on a scroll in Greece somewhere, or is this a story?
Well, it's the other thing.
How do you know this isn't a myth?
People think Odysseus was a myth. He wasn't a myth. He wasn't a god. He was a man. He was immortal. We used to think the Trojan War was bullshit.
Even if he was a myth?
They unearthed Troy and found out the Trojan War was a real thing.
No, that's true. But even if it was a myth, the idea of the mass killing was there.
Yeah,
People,
he was a veteran.
This guy got up here and just fucking went ape shit and killed everything.
He gave a manifesto speech. He gave a speech before he did the killing.
Wasn't he
said,
also king though? Like
he was king, yeah.
So it's not really against.
He said, but remind you, remember, he's disguised as a beggar.
No, I hear.
And he does the test, and they go, "Oh shit, he just did that. It must be Odysseus." He goes, I did a play where I recited his lines and other mass shooters. I remembered their manifestos and suicide notes and did a play about it.
Pissed.
But he said, you thought I'd never make it back from the land of Troy.
Right.
You've taken over my home. You've taken my maids and forced them into your beds. You went for my wife when I was still alive.
Yeah.
Contempt is all you've shown for the gods who rule the heaven, and contempt is all you've shown for what men will think of you hereafter. Your last hour has come. You will die in blood.
Basically,
and then he massacred everyone.
The short
more
version,
onto the breach, dear friend.
Yeah,
the short version is jive turkey's a little over the line, my man. But what you're telling me is that this dude was the king of an island who went away to war. He's out fighting for his people. Comes home, finds some dude in his own house.
He doesn't just come home, struggles for 10 years and has to go through all sorts of shit to get back home.
Sure, well, I mean, a war veteran might look at like a 2-year campaign as the same thing. Like, I just spent 2 years in the shit, and now I'm home, and my wife's banging my brother.
Exactly. Wouldn't be too happy about that.
Yeah, I mean, dude, in most of human history, the law would favor that he was totally okay and within his rights.
Was justified.
To
exactly.
slaughter the fuck out of those
Exactly,
dudes.
which is why people don't connect him to a modern-day mass shooter, because they think mass shooters are unjustified.
Well,
but I tell you, if you ask any one of them, they're in their own head. They're justified.
Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
I have a really good. I think this is a good question.
Hit me, baby.
Did you guys? So we talk about conspiracies a lot.
Hell
There
yeah.
are tons of conspiracies around mass shooting.
Yep.
Did you guys approach any of that?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Great question.
Like Sandy Hook. There's Las Vegas. All sorts of conspiracies.
I definitely want to talk about Las Vegas and conspiracies around that.
Talk about it right now. What is it?
Well, no, so we'll talk about Sandy Hook first. I was in Sandy Hook 3 weeks ago interviewing a mother whose son got killed.
Okay, so that's a town.
In his first grade classroom. He was 6 years old. Right?
You interviewed the little kid?
No.
Oh, the mother.
The kid died.
Jesus Christ.
Right, it's the reverse. Okay.
Yeah.
Mother.
Got it.
So people think she's a crisis actor. She's got a TED Talk where she tells her whole story. And people, you should read the comments.
Yeah, that's what I'm referring
despicable.
to.
It's
They think-
despicable
They
the
think-
things people write.
They think it's like it's fake.
Well,
False flag.
people have offered her money for the birth certificate, and she's got a lawsuit against Alex Jones.
They think it's fake.
Well, Alex Jones took a lot of that back too.
They think it's
Well,
fake.
he was
news,
legally
though?
forced to, and he
Yeah,
had to pay out.
I mean, they
but-
make connections to like the Boston bombing, saying these crisis actors are like working there, they're working here, they're in Vegas, like you know what I mean?
So conspiracies often arise in the aftermath of mass shootings, and there's a couple reasons why that happens, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
One of them is that it's such a traumatic,
They need
horrific fucking
explanation.
event. People can't wrap their heads around it. X,
This
Y, or
can't
Z.
be a real thing.
Yeah, so so they have to come up with something fantastical in order for it to make sense to them, right? The other thing that happens is often, like if you look at the Aurora Theater massacre, when the guy went to the Batman movie, James Holmes in Aurora, Colorado, the judge put a gag order on all the facts around that trial immediately.
Why? To keep it safe?
I mean,
give him a fair trial, or
the kid was alive still, so they had to prosecute him, and you know, justice had to happen. But with if the media is leaking all this information in XYZ, it sullies the trial.
Yeah.
So they put a strict gag order on everything. So there's no information getting out, and when there's no information like something like that getting out, people are left to their own devices to come up with whatever they want. And that kid's father worked for psyops at the military contractors. People thought the kid was Jason Bourne experiment gone wrong, basically.
Oh my God!
But then
that
you have
dorky kid,
and then you have Las Vegas, right? And the thing with Las Vegas, again, it's to this day is still the worst attack ever in the United States. It is the worst attack in history, not by fatality, but by casualty count. So that includes injured survivors.
I'll tell you what's fucked up. I don't want to interrupt your thought, but like, we do have so many shootings, and like, I am somebody that does not pay attention to the media and the news, but I obviously do catch wind when there's a mass shooting.
Yeah, it's all over the news. Yeah.
Well, but people talk about it too.
Yeah.
So I do recall in the recesses of my mind that there was like a really bad shooting in a club in Vegas. Right?
No,
it was in a club. It was outdoors at an outdoor concert.
Okay, some sort of
Route 91 country music festival.
Okay, so it was like a public. It wasn't. I knew it was a mass shooting, not at an office.
He shot into a concert crowd.
Yeah, and
he killed 61 people and wounded about 900 others.
900 others?
Yeah, I barely remember that.
Yeah,
like because it's like, yeah, that just happened. Yeah, there's another one.
So there's
another one.
So the thing about that is I can go on YouTube and see a video that's very convincing that shows that this is a conspiracy. Very convincing.
Right.
I have to keep my head about me, though, and like look at both sides and everything, obviously, and the facts. But what do you say to that? I mean, like, people are just like, you don't have to be an expert in anything to like convince a bunch of people.
Well,
like,
first of all, the shooter, Stephen Paddock, was a retired accountant who was successful, had a plane, was gambling tons of money, right? He didn't fit the prototype of what the media and most people think of a mass shooter as a young white kid. He was in his 60s, had money, had a successul life, you know.
They made that movie with Michael Douglas when he was like an old dude who just flipped the fuck out.
That was based on the San Ysidro massacre in 1984 at the McDonald's in California.
Yeah, so old guys do,
story.
Old people do.
Yeah, but
it seems to be males, though, every time.
Males is the one right thing that people have right. But that doesn't mean that women don't do it, too, because women do it, too.
I always pictured some loser, though. Some loser young guy. I don't know why. Like,
I have not heard...
I guess that's a misconception.
...of one female.
It's often accurate, but not in every case.
Yeah.
So the thing I like to tell people about mass shootings, and this is something a guy tweeted, a black guy who was a mass shooter who attacked a church of white people in Tennessee, Antioch, I believe.
Even Steven, go ahead.
He was a Somali lost child refugee, came over here, and shit didn't go right for him, and he ends up shooting these white people.
Well, their grandparents.
He was on Twitter, and he said,
bad on him.
He tweeted out, "Everything you've ever doubted or been told is a lie is true, and vice versa."
All right, so it's flipped everything upside down.
Yeah, but the truth is, you could say anything about the mass shooting phenomena, and you can find cases that will come in line with your thinking, right? But on the flip side, you can also find cases that don't come in line with it. It's very hard to say anything unequivocally about it and be correct. The only thing you can say unequivocally about it is that it's predominantly men. Everything after that, you're talking race, you're talking age, background, loser, successful. None of it you can really prove. Because it's very diverse.
What about preventable? I mean, it seems so random and not preventable.
Yeah, we feel like we're helpless and we're nothing. There's nothing.
It's just a random lottery of bad luck.
I think some of it has to. There's a mixed bag going on, right? Like there's clearly some mental health issues out there that are causing some of these.
These are entirely preventable crimes,
right?
Not in 100% of cases. You're never going to eradicate mass shootings. Like we said, mass murder. Goes back
they'll just blow it up.
It's part of humanity.
They'll do a fertilizer bomb instead, and if that doesn't work, they'll come up with a new one.
Yeah, but the frequency with which they've been happening in our society in America is troubling, because if you look back, we all remember Columbine, right?
It was a big one.
It was a big one. That was 1999, April 20th.
It's very transparent. Right? You know everything that happened.
That was the first.
I'm going to ask you guys. I'm going to ask you guys. We think it was, but the truth is, there was a whole bunch of school shootings in the 90s leading up to it. And my reaction, I was in 8th grade when it happened. I remember my reaction to Columbine, which was not surprised, I wasn't surprised. Like, it's been happening. It happened in Pearl, Mississippi, in Paducah, Kentucky. There were several. The kid, Kip Kinkle out in Oregon. There was a bunch of them, and Columbine was actually the climax of a decade of school shootings.
Oh, wow.
Right? But because it was the first nationally televised attack.
Well, right. That's what I'm saying. They put it on.
All the media was in Colorado for the
biggest-
JonBenet Ramsey trial.
Right.
It was the
And when
biggest
the shit
reported on.
happened, all the reporters drove on down to Littleton, and they were right there. It was a 4-hour standoff. The police didn't even get in the school for 4 hours. It changed the way law enforcement responds to active shooting events.
I mean, I don't think
because they were waiting for SWAT to show up.
They're
now they go in
trained.
right away.
Yeah.
No, but the training. What I'm trying to say is the training has evolved throughout time.
Yeah, as a result of
the
a need
the
for
failures.
supply and demand.
Yeah.
There was a need for training people to respond to shootings at schools.
But back to the issue of it being preventable or not, my question for you guys is, do you think mass murders in America have gotten better or worse since Columbine 21, 22 years ago?
Since
Like better, like in terms of better, you mean?
Have they gone down? Have we reduced the amount and frequency of school shootings and mass shootings? Or has it gotten worse?
I think it's gotten lower. I'm just making a guess. You guys can make the other guess.
Yeah, what do you guys think?
I think it's gone up, and it's just not as advertised because it's exactly what I just said. Because I've heard so many of them that it just blends into background noise now, right? Like it's horrible.
There's some major ones, obviously, but
Yeah, but you hear it so much, it's just part of life now. You're like, shooting in Colorado.
Well,
Sean, what do
I
you
would
think?
say my brain and memory and paying attention to news is saying that it's been more.
Yeah, I'm
So,
going with more as well.
I would say that based on my research, mass shootings overall have gone way up. School shootings, on the other hand, have actually, some people believe they actually have gone down. And I don't know
Isn't
enough
it
of the
clear
research.
cut?
Well, here's the thing. Nothing is clear cut. Like I said, everything you've ever doubted or believed is false is true, and vice versa.
Who's
it's
collecting
a
the
paradox.
data,
Who's collecting the data? What's their criteria? What's the terms and definitions?
Okay.
I've got a whole section of my film dedicated to terms and definitions. Like I said, before active shooter, it was spree killing.
Yeah.
In the 80s, it was going postal.
Yeah.
Right?
Active definitions are important.
but
I'll
there
tell you
must
why.
be.
It's called going berserk. The berserkers, right?
I love Berserk.
And my favorite, you know about Asian culture, amok comes from Malaysia.
Go berserk.
Running amok.
Yeah, right.
It was these villagers in Malaysia who,
Go berserk.
Mind your P's and Q's.
a lot of them were weird, disturbed youth,
Couldn't
young
handle
men. They were in villages where they were supposed to have arranged marriages. Nobody wants to marry their daughter off to the crazy kid in the village. So
They weren't accepted by society.
you're not
is
accepted
what-
by society.
Is what causes
Not
the
in every case. Not in every case. But, they would run around with a spear and kill everyone in the vicinity. And the villagers would run around saying, Amuko, 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 to warn everybody
Yeah, but why
what
didn't
was happening.
somebody else just pick up a spear?
Well,
and
that's
drop
what they
that
would do.
motherfucker?
That's what ultimately would happen.
Why
They
didn't
cut his
they
balls off.
Why didn't they say Vankar?
They,
fucking get him.
They had sympathy for the guys because they believed that it was an evil tiger demon spirit called Hantu Belion
okay.
Oh,
that took
explains
possession.
everything.
That's a different. That's a.
Yeah.
They're worried about demons and mysticism and stuff.
But it was
exactly what it was.
Portuguese explorers and European explorers who observed this phenomenon, like Magellan back in the day. They observed it when they would go explore these villages in this Southeast Asia, and they said, "Holy shit, what the fuck is going on? You got these guys running around just killing people."
This didn't happen in Europe. They had
Willy-nilly.
gunpowder and all kinds of shit for a long time. Muskets, cannonballs.
It was in
just
the
basically gunpowder.
DSM, the official psychological handbook. It was known as a culture bound syndrome. In the DSM-4, I know they changed it in the
Diagnostic
DSM-5.
Statistical Manual or something.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
So,
For mental
and it
disorders.
was popular in Southeast Asia, in the Philippines, and even Puerto Rico, that this type of phenomenon would happen. But again, you have the Vikings with the
Yeah, I
berserkers,
mean, dude-
and it's an active war too. The movie 300, right?
Yeah.
Famous example of 300 dudes going balls to the wall. We know we're gonna die, so we're
Yeah,
gonna kill as
but-
many motherfuckers
yeah,
as we
absolute-
can on the way out.
absolutely. Right.
And it was honorable. It was an honorable.
Yeah,
death.
we make movies about
You know?
it.
You
Yeah.
go to
I got
Stover
a sleeve done on them. Right there.
Exactly.
I want to
Hell-
go out the same way in combat.
Yeah. Well, hopefully not.
Or
in a
ritualistic
mass
suicide,
shooting,
one
you
of
know?
the two.
Yeah, but well, I don't wish that for you, but
Well, like if I get pancreatic cancer, right? Because cancer runs rampant in our family, so you must know we're ticking time bombs, right?
I try not to think about that.
Well, I
stuff.
don't-
I'm aware of it. Yeah.
Well, I think about it every day. I don't think about it like I'm worried about it. I just know it's gonna one day I'm gonna get the call. They're going to be like, bro, you got really bad cancer and you're going to die in like 2 months. And I'm going to be like, okay, I'm going to throw a sick party, invite everyone I know, probably try to sleep with like one more beautiful chick, and then I'm going to, you know, seppuku right across the belly.
But hold on, though. So
maybe you guys could all pitch in and buy me a really hot hooker if I'm going to die, but no one's going to know because I'm not going to tell. Well, I might announce it at the party like Bilbo Baggins.
Instead of my 111th birthday.
Also, I'm dying in 2 weeks. I'll see you guys later. Drop the mic. I'm out. Yeah, no, dude. I mean, I don't want to die like, you know, like old and feeble and shitting my pants. I'd rather die with a sword in my hand and go to Valhalla.
Death is the only adventure.
Exactly, dude, for sure. Peter Pan, right there. Hook.
Rufio.
But you were going to make a point. You were going to make a point.
So the thing is, you know, we got to this subject because we're talking about terms and definitions, right? And there's a history and lineage of terms used to describe these types of attacks. And that gets lost, that history gets lost every time we come up with a new word.
You know what's written in terms and definitions?
What?
Laws.
Wow.
Yeah, and that's another thing.
And so gun control laws in this country are a fucking joke.
Well, how do you frame social problems?
Listen.
You come up with a term and a definition.
Yeah.
You highlight a few of the most extreme examples, and then you present statistics to make it seem like a universal problem.
And we got to solve it.
Go.
We got to solve it right now.
Exactly.
Or there's going to be
in the 80s. It
big
was
trouble.
In the 80s, it was like kids getting poison candy on Halloween,
for sure.
Which is a fake thing. It was a myth. It happened like once.
Yeah.
They had
Or
remember it was on TV shows.
What?
They put it on TV shows.
Yeah, but it was a fake, like it was like a scared thing, like on the news and shit, so parents are scared of it, but it really wasn't even real.
For what?
Exactly.
It happened like one time with a guy for his
end?
son.
To
like
what
it
end?
wasn't he tried to kill his son or
We
something.
struck a nerve because Halloween's
No. I
again.
like myths like that because there's so many myths out there that like you can bust so easily.
Yeah, but
And
they
people
fucked
still
with,
believe it.
They fucked with Halloween,
you,
man.
you mess with people's kids, they're gonna react. You know,
Yeah.
that's why school shootings, people are buying bulletproof backpacks.
Well, that's certainly
and
not
this and
myth.
that.
That's certainly not a myth, but
It's true, but maybe the degree to which we make people believe that it's a widespread daily pandemic when maybe the truth is
super rare, right?
Yeah.
Can I just say for the record that I think everyone should have firearms, like the Old West? I'm like
I want
said,
everyone to have muzzleloader guns.
I said,
Just,
I said earlier that gun control laws in this country are a joke, and they are. But I think that I believe that everyone should have one, like a firearm.
Well, in Cyprus,
it's
they do.
It's a big
in Cyprus, every single household has a gun.
It's
And
a
what they
big-
do is
it's
they
a big
limit-
equalizer,
You
dude.
only have a limited amount of ammo, and you're not supposed to shoot it unless your life is in danger.
Yeah.
And the government comes and checks your house to make sure you haven't shot those bullets. And if for every bullet you shoot without their permission, you're going to go to jail.
Oh.
But if you need it, every single person has a gun in there.
That's
People, they
amazing.
would never allow that here.
Well,
People wouldn't.
Let me tell you what we have here. Just build your own at home with no. You can just easily
Download it,
parts
3D
over the
print it.
internet,
Right.
3D print it, dude. Anyone can make a gun
Ooh,
at home.
3D
now.
printing.
The other thing is the idea is out there, right?
You can't put it back in the box.
You can't put it back in the box.
No, so
People
everyone
will
exactly.
still-
So everyone should have one.
What's in the box?
I don't know if I
What's
agree
in the
with that, but I
box?
respect
What's in
your
the box?
opinion, you know?
I'm just saying it's an equalizer, dude. You think twice when you know everyone's wearing a Smith and a Colt 45 on their side.
The problem is, we're living at a time of all-time highs in this country of mental illness, suicide and drug addiction, financial strain.
because we're living in a model that doesn't work, bro.
Well, what happens is when everybody's got weapons and people are having breakdowns, that's when it's really easy to
Okay,
go.
I'm glad you said that.
For these things to happen.
I'm glad you said that. I'm sure you were going to go here in your video because I haven't seen it. But I was thinking about the issue this week, and it's all societal based, like how we raise. It's the value system in this country is fucked up in a lot of different ways. Okay, some of these things you may not agree with. I'm just going to tell you right now. Okay, I was thinking about a lot of the. I know that people that have emotional problems, some of it's chemical imbalances and DNA things and like that. But when kids get fucked up from abuse or from being bullied as kids,
Early childhood trauma.
yeah, it definitely shapes or warps them in such a way that would make them more likely to do a mass killing than less. Okay, and it's because of pent up frustration and self-loathing and all these other things, but like it's how we it's like, all right, look at violence in our society, right? What's the number one law that you never break because you don't want to, it's like the number one thing. You don't murder somebody, right?
Yeah, that's a big one.
It's murder, right?
Yeah.
It's murder. You murder somebody, it's like the ultimate crime.
Well, unless it's self-defense, there's a lot of stand your own ground.
Yeah. No, self-defense is self-defense. But I'm saying if you decide to take another life, everyone's like, whoa, you can't do that. That's the ultimate crime.
Yeah.
But what's the first fucking thing?
But again, we have a rainbow spectrum of how we define that.
No,
There's
I know.
manslaughter, homicide, class 1, class 2, class 3.
Absolutely. But what I'm saying is any way you slice it, it's the highest on the ladder, okay, more or less. And
well, I would argue actually that molesting children is actually.
I agree, but that's like
viewed as a worse crime by many
creating like a ticking time bomb to later create mass killings. But like, but the army, the military, the government, when they need to solve a real problem, what do?
Violence is the solution
Immediately.
Yeah,
Snipe,
get Jack Bauer, torture the motherfucker,
sniper, take out the guy,
put the black hood over his head,
snipe him. Kill him, blow him up, whatever. Take it. Violence is the ultimate solution. That's nature, man. That's human. That's human nature, and it's the planet of Earth nature. Okay.
Well, it's part of America's culture after World War I and World War II, where we're
well, this is what I'm saying. So we're raising these kids. Hey, no violence in schools, right? So like I couldn't tell you how many people I know that have got a kid that's being bullied in school. And I raised my kid, you don't take shit from anyone. The minute somebody gives you some crap, you stand up for yourself. Because if you don't, you're going to feel bad about yourself afterwards, You're going to feel like this person not only made fun of me, but then you're going to feel bad because you didn't stand up for yourself.
Repressing your anger.
Yeah, exactly.
Bad.
Repressing this anger. No conflict resolution.
And they say depression is like repressed anger.
Then the other kids start getting that we're a pack animal, man. That's it. We are, and that's all there is to it. So the other kids in the pack start getting this weakness scent coming off you. This is the weak one that we can pick on, and you can give this one shit and he'll take it. Okay. And that, we got internet bullying. We've got different types of bullying now. But the bottom line is like if you're a kid in school these days and you get in like a fist fight because you're being bullied, you get like suspended and you get like counseling and your parents are like, you have to go, there's all this bullshit where like, 60 years ago.
We spend millions and millions of dollars on anti-bullying programs and it doesn't do shit.
It doesn't do shit. These kids need a punch in the fucking face. And what happens is the kid that's being bullied, I don't care. Like I taught my kid from the time she was little. I don't care if you get the crap kicked out of you by 3 other people that are beating you up. You fight back because at least you don't go home with the shame of like I just ran away. And like those 3 people will have respect for you after the fact. It's why like in the wild, some big animals don't eat some smaller animals because they know it's just going to be too costly. They're like, they'll eat that animal and they'll win, but they might lose an eye.
Energy costs too.
Oh, energy costs. Yeah, it's too hard to get it. But bottom line, like if you eat something that you know is going to like maybe rip off your face while you're trying to do it, you might choose a different meal, right? So what's going on is somebody keep him oxygenated. What's going on here is these kids aren't allowed to solve through violence these other problems. So they're like being picked on, being told they're not accepted. And then they go home and cry to their mom and dad. Their mom and dad can't even tell them to go punch the kid in the face. They have to like say, let's call the parents. Let's try to work it out. Then the kid gets bullied even fucking worse, right? And so like the bottom line is these kids are growing up not learning how to like stand up for themselves, not learning how to resolve conflicts with somebody and just walk away. Just walk away. Don't get violent. Don't solve it. Just walk away, and then
if that builds and builds and builds and builds until it turns into rage, and you get a gun and you go and kill people.
Bam.
Yeah. The thing is, though, bullying is one of the many things on the short list. Is one of the many things blamed for mass shootings.
Absolutely.
And you can't blaming is the wrong thing. It's complex. It's a confluence of multiple factors that are complex, like society, right? Like bullying, like violence. Bullying, the other thing is, it happens to adults too. It's not just kids.
If you don't learn to stand up for yourself when you're 5, you never learn.
There was a mass shooting at a post office in the 80s in Michigan.
Is that where Postal came from?
It came from Oklahoma, actually. Going postal.
I was going to bring that up.
Because there was a number of workplace shootings in the 80s that a lot of them were at post offices, right? And it wasn't just post offices, but there was enough postal shootings where going postal became the catchphrase, right?
We say, what do we say? Stereotypes exist for a reason. So enough of them happen where it has.
So why the post office, though? Why the post office?
It must attract those types
fucking
of employees.
miserable.
Well, here's the thing. there was a lot of
She
bullying.
used to work there.
There was a lot of bullying at this post office in Michigan, right? And you would have loved this guy, Thomas, this mass shooter I'm talking about.
He would have been my kind of guy.
He would have been your kind of guy.
All right.
He was a war veteran. He was a kickboxer, MMA guy in the 80s.
Wasn't taking anybody's bullshit.
Wasn't taking anybody's bullshit. He stood up for what was right. He marched to the beat of his own drum, right? Now he saw.
Why did he have to resort to mass shooting? Why didn't
This
he
is
go in there
I'm
and kick
telling you the
someone's
tale.
ass?
This is a great question.
Why did he cash in?
So basically, there was widespread bullying from the managers to the lower level people in the post office. This is during the Reagan administration, right? And it was from the top down. And it was very rampant. And he would report it when he saw these managers bullying people. And I'm talking, they'd go up to people and be like, yo, I fucked your wife last night. She was great in
Piece
bed.
of shit.
Like crazy shit like that. He would report it. And
If somebody said that to me, I would headbutt them in the face.
So they
immediately.
targeted him because they said, this motherfucker's standing up to us. We have to make him a lesson, right? So they started writing him up for all these little infractions. Oh, your shorts are an inch too high, this or that, whatever. They
busted his
made up
balls
a
on
bunch of
every
shit.
little thing.
Your
They
balls are
kept
showing.
busting his fucking balls, right? So what does he do? He goes and kills all the managers in the post office, right? Was his coworker sad?
Stuck it to the man.
They were like, "We're sorry that people lost loved ones and family members, but we're not sad that he killed those people because they were bad people."
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't there,
but people don't hear about that reaction. It's usually the shooter's the bad guy.
Yeah.
He was totally unjustified.
No, there's nuances to this conversation.
Well, it's like
Sure.
it's like terrorist versus freedom fighter. It's what side of the fence are you on based on whose opinion? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Oh man, they should make a movie on that.
But I think that we all want to solve everything with a linear solution.
Simple problem, simple solutions.
Right.
Like looking at the clouds, right? Your brain wants to be able to make sense of it, so you just want to grasp at something that makes sense, and then I can handle reality.
Sean's saying this is like there are a lot of different variables that lead to this, and so
there's no simple.
We can't just say, "Oh, this is it. Let's get rid of this."
There's no silver bullet solution. There's a lot of different solutions. There's a lot of different things people can do to be the change to prevent these things from happening. Right? Not everyone's going to experience a mass shooting, but people have mental illness in the family. They've got depression, suicide. Bullying at schools. There's other things in life.
Things make
you have to deal
Like
with.
when they say ban guns, it's so simple and stupid. It's like saying kids drown in pools, so let's ban water. It's like, it's so stupid because it starts off at a different level than that, like mental illness.
Right? People
level.
just kill each other with knives.
Yeah, you want to ban the weapon, but like
Hit you with a rock.
How about solving the issue of like what causes these kind of things?
the root cause, right?
The root cause, yeah.
Yeah. So the gun control issue is so divisive, and each side takes the moral high ground and talks down to each other.
Yep.
And it's one of the reasons we've gone nowhere, in my opinion, in the 20 years since Columbine, which is why I stay away from the whole issue, because I'm interested in all this other things, the terminology, the history, the root causes, the complexity, the paradoxes, right?
Do you think that humans are a warrior race?
Historically, we were, but I think we're evolving into something else.
So you think we're in some kind of like...
We're living in the most peaceful time in history, by the way.
We're in some kind of like adolescence of our development where we're kind of shedding our warrior animal mentality and getting more towards like...
The further away we go from being a violent species, though, the more we need violence to feel alive. That's why all the movies and all the shows you see out there, you go on Netflix, what are their highest rated shows? Serial killers, mass murderers, super violent shit.
No, I firmly
Sopranos.
believe we're a warrior race, hardcore.
Oh, yeah.
I think it's in our DNA.
Warriors.
And I think what happens is you've got a society that's trying to suppress one of its major callings, and then also you've got like
you also have a group of people that created society and said the only way this is going to be work is if we don't fucking kill each other.
Yeah, I guess warriors are a class in society, but I think it's like...
Warriors are supposed to be noble, though. If you look at Achilles, he wasn't just the best fighter
Warriors
in the
are
Greek
guys-
army. No, Achilles wasn't just the best fighter. He was the most noble. He honored all the codes. That's why he brought the body back and did all these other things. That's why everybody loved him. Not just because he was a badass fighter, but because he was honorable.
Well,
you know,
I mean,
look at a lot of these UFC fighters now. They're like the most stand up noble guys you could ever meet, humble and stuff. Because they can kill you. They're warriors.
Yeah, well, I'm just saying, as somebody who's been in martial arts their whole life and probably kill a human being a bunch of different ways with my bare hands, right? Like, or feet, whatever I have to use.
Right,
Bite
little
your,
triangle choke.
bite your
whatever.
jugular out if I have to. Dude. Whatever weapons are at my
throat rip
disposal, I will. Yeah, if I have to do a MacGruber throat rip, I'll figure out how to do it. But what I'm saying is that my observation over the years of knowing a lot of guys that were fighters and a lot of guys that trained were that they were the last dudes to get in a confrontation unless they were like unless someone hit them. Unless they had to defend themselves because they just got it all out in the gym.
Yeah.
And one big thing I think that sucks in this country and probably the whole world, other than like North Korea and South Korea, I don't know anything about North Korea, but in South Korea, Taekwondo is like gym class for us. Okay, so like we're forced to go to gym, right, and run the mile and like. You know,
do sit-ups,
learn push-ups, sit-ups, jumping jacks,
badminton,
the core sports, whatever those are, football, basketball, soccer, aka American football, whatever we like here in America, that's what we do. But in North Korea, in South Korea, they do Taekwondo, and they do it in high school. And so, like, every kid that goes to school learns Taekwondo.
I think everybody should have to be in the military or do some type of service.
Well, they have to
like
do that.
In Israel.
They have to do that too. I don't believe that. There are some people that are just
some people aren't cut out for it, right?
Yeah,
and there are exceptions, but I do think it would help a lot of people.
But I think people need to know how to like defend themselves in a confrontation, and I think that they need to have a space that they can like physically work out that violent urge.
What I think is pairs really well with that and is an alternative for, because some people the physical thing isn't an option, right?
Yeah,
people have
I hear you.
disabilities and things
For sure.
There's mental jujitsu. There's de-escalation.
Right.
There's social and emotional learning, which is really big in schools now, and is one of the solutions out there, one of the many, where it teaches people how to empathize, how to have courage and bravery and compassion.
Start teaching these kids at a younger age to like care about each other.
Yeah, because the person who's bullying you is probably getting their ass kicked at home.
Yeah, shit rolls downhill.
Yeah.
You said it earlier with the postal office. It was starting at the top and going right. Everybody was getting the shit kicked out of them.
Exactly.
Well, I think in one of the clips that I watched of your
the sizzle,
the sizzle. There's a guy that's mentioned. He's a young kid, and he's just like, I had all these issues. Everybody's like,
isolation, alienation.
I had nowhere to go.
Yeah,
he's serving
two life sentences in New Mexico. But keep going.
But like, he had nowhere to go. He had no one would help him, and he did not know how to talk about what he was going.
He didn't have the education to understand what was happening,
and it wasn't provided to him because our school system is still preparing him for factories.
He had been suspended from school 22 times between 7th grade and 9th grade. At no point did he get the help he needed.
Society's hard.
He had a suicide attempt at home. The police came, the psychologist came and talked to him, and they said, "Pinky swear you're not going to do this again."
Oof. And you talk to this guy?
I'm talking to him. He's in prison in New Mexico, serving 2 life sentences plus 40 years. He did this crime at 16. He killed 2 people, wounded 4 others. He was a good kid, though. The problem is early childhood abuse, family issues. He smoked meth for the first time when he was 7 years old.
It's like Charles Manson. They abused him so bad as a child, and then wondered why later on that he was like...
Yeah, Richard Ramirez,
another one.
His father
abused.
tied him to a cross in the cemetery overnight, telling war stories.
His uncle showed him dead bodies.
War crimes in Vietnam.
Yep, his uncle showed him war bodies in Vietnam.
Charles Manson too. He was in the juvenile detention facilities here in New Hampshire.
Wait a second.
They just got exposed.
Time out.
All the torture and abuse for decades.
Time out. Who's the guy in the '60s that murdered a ton? You're talking about Charles Manson? Is he the guy in the '60s that had a cult and
he
didn't murder?
He didn't murder,
but
he had other people that
followers.
Killed him.
Yeah.
This is the dude in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
But some people say that it's a CIA plot.
Yeah, didn't the CIA wasn't he like an agent or didn't he have like a handler or something that was like kind of guiding him to do this?
So here's the thing: serial killing is a whole other field. It's a different type of crime altogether. And it was more popular in the 70s. Charles Manson, Son of Sam.
Harder to do now.
Well, no, they're still doing it. They're just they figured out they're just killing sex workers. They're killing sex workers and getting away with it.
People that nobody cares about.
And they're active. Yeah,
people that nobody will miss.
Yeah, they need to legalize sex work.
It was a CIA.
That's another solution for mass shootings. You have all these incels, these young virgin kids.
Incels,
bro.
That's
legalize sex work, and then problems.
It's discriminatory against incels. Incels have to get all angry and shit because they can't get laid. That's not fair. They look like shit. So give them a chick that's really hot. She can pay a little bit for it.
I will
You're gonna
show
pay
up
for it anyways.
I will show up on day one when the establishments are open, and I will
Picketing.
It's not fair.
I will work there.
It really isn't
go
fair.
There, or I want to be involved.
It is a human rights issue.
Yeah.
It is an issue of justice.
I'm all for it.
Incels are growing too. Like they're just more and more. They get bitter and more bitter about.
It's
women
funny because we had the dominatrix on a couple weeks ago, and we haven't aired the episode yet officially. Right. But she, basically what it boiled down to, and what Sean, was getting at her with, was that like she's kind of like a therapist. The job that she performs, is a form of therapy for the people that
right. The people who are into S&M were fucked up from their childhood. It's just reaffirming childhood.
They have nowhere to go, like to scratch these itches that they have. And so if there's a place that they can go where there's like a person that consents to do what they need and is like okay with it and understands that like I'm doing this is like an act, okay? And I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this like and make money off of it. But she goes home at the end of the day and probably drives home and says like, "What the fuck was the matter with that guy?" But I'm glad I have $500 in my wallet.
I also comes to this. I also think people should just be able to do whatever the fuck they want. You want to do drugs? And you want to have weird fucking sex with poppers and fucking.
And I think that
do whatever you want.
I think that the thing with the other part of it was like, yeah, she had a fucked up childhood. That seems to lead girls to this, to this work. But from what she said, and tell me if I'm wrong on this, but that's their way of taking back control of sexuality,
right?
Okay, right. Because it's something that's been like, it was a choice that was taken away from them, right? Like they didn't choose what was happening to them. They were abused, and so now they're going to take control of it by being this person that's like, going to choke you out or whatever the kink is. That's what's going on with that. So anyway, sorry to get off topic with that, Billy. I
just can't imagine getting spit in the face is good for your psyche. That's all.
No, but like that guy or girl, whoever's paying for that, might need it, or they're gonna like go and like kidnap someone and do some, kidnap a kid or something. You know what I mean?
It's a release.
It's a release.
Well, it's good that I'm not going to be there for it, so it doesn't matter anyway.
It's a release, bro.
Someone can't talk about some of the things that they're going through.
Like they should have like
embarrassment through therapy, but this situation, you can go get slapped across the face.
Yeah, with a huge rubber dildo.
And maybe you're coming from it, but like also you're feeling better.
Like arsonists, right? Some arsonists can only get their rocks off when there's a huge fire that they've lit. They should have, how we have like skate parks where kids go and do like jumps and stuff? They should have these parks where they build like shitty little structures and they just let arsonists burn the motherfucker to the ground and make them pay for it.
It's not the same
thrill. Be like,
it's like those rooms.
You're right.
It's fake. It
has to be a real.
It has to be a real thing.
It has to be real carnage and destruction.
It's like getting rid of golf courses and saying you guys can go. You have a driving range. We just can't have golf courses anymore. It's not the same thing.
Yeah. Well, it's something.
Yeah, but maybe for the average people, it'd be cool. Like those break rooms where you pay money to go and break all the shit with a baseball bat or a sledgehammer or whatever.
Just saying
they have that.
Oh yeah.
So
in Nashua they have.
Let me ask you a mass killer question. I was thinking of some of the ones that stood out to me.
Sure, hit me with them.
This was a creative one, and I don't remember if it was a conspiracy, like if the CIA set this in motion to. You never know, right? Like these gun control people, they might put that want guns off the street, like they don't want any guns.
I don't know of one single mass shooting I've studied that was a conspiracy.
I know, but I'm just saying.
A lot of them have conspiracies attached to them.
People
but I haven't
say,
uncovered.
What about Vegas? You don't think anything weird about that?
That's what I want to talk about.
Yeah.
Okay.
How do you get the guns to the room? That kind of
let's
stuff.
Go there.
Let's go there.
Remember this one though. Remember the sniper.
The Beltway sniper.
Nobody could find him, and he was in the trunk of the car, laid down
with his nephew. Yeah.
It's different.
Talk
very
about
unique
ingenious.
type of mass murder. Not a serial killer per se. Not a mass shooter per se. But
what was he doing? Just shooting random people in Wall Street?
I'm not too familiar with the details of that case. So I can't.
You're talking about a 2-man team that went around, and maybe the younger kid was coerced, or maybe he was beaten or just raised that way, whatever.
Yeah, he's with his uncle. His uncle's cool, whatever.
To me, that's like a form of terrorism because what you're doing is spreading fear.
Yeah, that's what he was doing. He was just randomly killing anyone, right? Like you didn't want to. Where was it? Washington that it happened.
Washington, D.C.
You didn't want to go to D.C. because like you didn't know if the sniper was going to take you out. And that,
What a
like,
fucking asshole.
It took a long time for law enforcement to figure out like the ballistics and the trajectories and realize that this guy's shooting from ground level, not from. They were looking on the rooftops.
Was he shooting from the trunk of a car?
He was shooting from the trunk
Like
of
a
a
hole?
car. He had a hole in the trunk of a car.
Oh,
He was,
my God.
Listen to this, man. The back seat was laid down, so he was in perfect sniper position. And he had blankets on him, and he had a driver in the front of the car. So it just looked like some dude parked in a car, and in the back in the trunk there was a sniper, and he would line you up and take you out. And
Holy shit.
And so, yeah. So, you know, the first fucking thing that all the law enforcement people were looking for, they were looking for a sniper, and they knew it. So they were looking for windows and rooftops, and like they're like, where the fuck?
Like the book suppository building.
And
They're
you're
probably
talking about
looking at veterans
in
too,
Washington,
people who would
in
have
Veterans,
training.
yeah.
Can you imagine trying to check every rooftop in Washington D.C. and figure out like how you know, a sniper hits you? It's not like he's shooting at like. It's not like machine gun fire where there's like 18 bullets spread out and some of them are caught in the wall. Like this dude fucking hits. He shoot one shot, one kill. He fucking nails
Pretty far
you.
away too.
And when you get hit, you don't just like splatter. You like stumble,
One-
move, walk. Like they're trying to figure out the trajectory of a round, but they have no idea where it's coming from, and it took them forever.
So it was like the uncle and the nephew was a team, and the nephew's married to some rich white girl now. Some rich white girl who became obsessed with this guy.
Good for
That's
him.
the other thing. A lot of these mass shooters get a lot of attention in jail. A
Richard
lot of
Ramirez.
violent criminals have women writing them letters from all over the world.
Yeah, Richard
that's a whole
Ramirez
other
had-
phenomenon.
They have groupies, and sometimes just in the courthouse they have groupies. Richard Ramirez had a bunch of them, and he got married in jail.
Or Ted Bundy. Like
Ted Bundy, too.
The guy was like the biggest pimp ever.
They loved him.
I don't even know what.
And he was just
I
an
think they like the
average
danger.
looking man.
I don't know what to respond to.
Ted
that.
Bundy.
Yeah, but he was
Well,
like a
some
hot
people say
serial
he was-
killer.
Some people say he was hot, but
He didn't need to kill bitches to get with them, but he just liked it that way.
no, he'd come over with a bum arm and be like, "Hey, can you help me lift this?"
Yeah.
Push him in the.
All right. Before I interrupted you on this, with the awesome ingenuity of the car sniper guy.
Well, that doesn't fit.
You wanted
that-
to talk
yeah.
about Vegas.
Vegas, yeah. So worst one in American history. by
Gross
far.
place, by the way. I would never go unless it was for work.
Happened only 1 year after the previous worst attack in history, which was at the Pulse nightclub in Orlando, where the perpetrator was a Muslim
That's
guy
what I was thinking of.
who claimed he was doing it for ISIS, which I think is the biggest bullshit ever. He was
That's
a
where I was
closeted
thinking of
homosexual
the club.
who had been to the club several times before himself, and he was triggered by seeing a gay couple on the beach
Self-loathing.
kissing.
Had he been to Catholic
mean,
reprogramming
he
training
called-
camp where they pray the gay out of him? Or
Well, he called the FBI and he was like, just for the record, I'm doing this because I'm pledging for ISIS, and that's why I'm doing this.
He
It was
did?
like, come on, dude.
Oh, 'cause
we
he
know
wanted-
why you're really doing it. You attacked a gay club. ISIS doesn't really give a fuck about a bunch of dudes grinding on each other under the strobe light in fucking Orlando.
yeah, they want to take down the American War Machine.
Right.
But anyway, so Las Vegas happens a year later, and it's way worse. It's the worst one in history by a long shot. Not only that, it doesn't fit the archetype of by this point in time what we think of as a mass shooter or a mass shooting, because he was older, he was successful, and he attacked other white people at this country music show. Right? And everyone said, we don't know why he did it. Even the police, the sheriff of Vegas, came out a year later. He says, we know a lot of things, we've learned a lot, but we still can't say why he did this. Why? He didn't leave a manifesto behind. He was meticulous in destroying all of his hard drives. And my theory is
The Unabomber.
to fuck with people, because he knows that everyone's going to want to know why. He said, I'm not going to leave them any information, and they're not going to fucking be able to figure it out.
He doesn't want to be
More
profiled.
famous.
Crazy. Exactly.
He doesn't want to be profiled.
So here's the thing, though. Would we have been asking why if his name was Muhammad instead of Stephen? Would we have been asking why if he attacked a rap concert full of black and Hispanic people instead of
You're
white
right.
people at a country music show?
A white older guy at a country music show in Vegas.
Yeah, we just couldn't wrap our heads around it. And then on top of that, now the conspiracies, this is where shit gets really interesting. The police response, they updated the timeline of events 3 times in the first 3 weeks after the attack. They kept changing the timeline of the official timeline of events.
Well, it's probably hard to construct it. I have a buddy who's a homicide detective.
Not when you're trying to control the narrative.
No, listen, I'm not sticking up for the man. I know they're
Mm-hmm.
trying to control the narrative. I'm just saying for like the Joe Schmo like cop that got assigned to it. Like my buddy's a homicide detect.
It's not a Joe Schmo cop when it's the biggest, most high profile crime that has ever happened.
Oh, I hear you. It's probably FBI.
I've
shit,
seen like
but
ballistics experts say
No, it's Las Vegas PD.
Yeah.
Sheriff Lombardo with the assistance of the FBI.
Yeah, oversight
By the
of
way,
FBI.
the Las Vegas PD, one of the most corrupt police departments, working hand in hand with the casinos for decades.
I would.
they fuck up
Vegas
the trajectory
is gross.
of the shots because like some of these ballistics experts go on YouTube and talk about like how the trajectory is all wrong, things like that.
The guy, no. The guy was brilliant.
It could
was
be
brilliant.
there could be ricochets.
The only
you
thing
know?
they found was a note with his calculations based on the wind and the direction of the wind, and he wanted to buy tracer ammunition.
Where did he learn? Where did he learn to
Couldn't
shoot?
get
In the,
them.
did he learn to shoot? In the military?
Self-trained, self-trained, not a veteran.
I respect
Wasn't a
that.
veteran.
But he had one of the biggest arsenals ever. He got like 21, 23 high-powered rifles up in that suite he had.
How'd he get them there?
Well, he was a high roller. He was well known at the casino. High roller, treated like royalty. Loved how everyone kissed his ass. And but anyways, hold on though. So the 3 rewrites of the timeline, right? Major red flag. A lot of questions because what they were doing was they said some security guard was the first guy to find the room or whatever where it was happening, and they were like, "Oh, they found it," and then they reported it, and then he started the attack. And then they said, "No, he found him during the attack, or he found him after the attack," because he fired bullets into the hallway at the security guard, right? So they kept trying to change the timeline. Very, very, very fishy, right? Then what else happens? They send the security guard and the engineer, who were the first 2 guys from the hotel, they send them on the Ellen DeGeneres show to collect a big check, right? They want to make them the heroes. That's what the media does. Villains and heroes is the narrative. So they said, oh, these guys are the heroes. First of all, fucking worst attack ever. 900 people got shot. 60 people got killed. How the fuck are these guys the heroes?
There are no heroes.
They got shot at in the fucking hallway, right? Anyways,
I'll tell you what. If everyone was wearing a Colt 45, they wouldn't have been able to do shit. The guy he was shooting him from a hotel window.
he had the high ground. There were everyone at the concert could have been armed. It wouldn't have done anything.
It wouldn't have been the
Maybe
same
everyone.
outcome.
Maybe we all need Kevlar clothing.
It was like
I don't know.
the UT Tower shooting in 1966 in Austin, Texas, where the guy was in the top of the clock tower. Everybody in Texas had guns and was whipping out and shooting up there.
Can't take out a high powered scoped rifle at range with a pistol.
So the guy's goal was to do maximum damage possible. We know he was planning the attack for a long, long time in advance. He was targeting concerts and he was picking out hotels near where the concert
I
ground.
just don't understand why these people are killing at random. Like if I was fed up and pissed off, I would want to like take out my vengeance on an individual target, right? Like I'd be like, this person is wrong.
When you hate everybody, when society has outcasted you.
So I think they're.
But he wasn't outcasted though. So why do you think?
Yeah, you said he was a high roller at the casino.
Why do you think that he hated people so much and wanted to kill them all?
I think he had a very big. Well, first of all, some of it's genetic. His father was one of the first people on the America's Most Wanted list as a homicidal maniac.
Oh, so he's genetically predisposed to killing.
He wanted to surpass his father, probably, and he wanted to credit these guys. They know the list. They know the rankings. They want to be on the top of the list.
Yeah, some people are.
Like I said, Orlando had just happened the year before. That became the worst one ever in American history. This is the thing. It was a lot of times it's tied to financial loss. He was a rich guy. He liked how people treated him being rich, his family, the casino workers, whatever. He made some deals that went bad. And after being a rich guy his whole life, knowing that he ran out of his money, it's like, fuck it. You know what? I'm above everybody.
Blow your brains
everybody.
out.
They're all stupid sheep. I'm above everyone, and I'm going to show you that I'm superior to all of you. That's just my theory. That's my take on it.
He got divorced too, right?
No, he was never married. He had a Filipino girlfriend or something. He sent her to the Philippines with a bunch of money. He tried to take care of her.
Damn.
Yeah.
See, in Japan, they're taught to just commit suicide when you feel shame and defeat. Mm-hmm. And you take out yourself.
Yeah, I mean, I wish that was more popular here.
Yeah,
Right.
me too.
Save people a lot of grief.
Yeah, no, for real. I don't know. I just can't wrap my mind around. I guess that makes sense. What
But hold
you're
on,
saying.
I want to go back to Ellen though. Right?
Ellen
So
DeGeneres.
they send these two guys on Ellen to get the check, to be the heroes. Everybody feel good story, right? They were running ads on TV, Vegas strong, all this, come back to Vegas right away. Didn't skip a beat. Anyways, you guys know the show Ray Donovan?
Yes.
Yes.
I'm familiar with it. Sabretooth plays Ray
You know who's on
Donovan,
the
right?
hook for the Las Vegas attack? The rich-ass casino owners, right? The rich-ass casino owners and the Las Vegas PD, very powerful institutions. They've got a gang of Ray Donovans.
They got the dirt.
Trying to fucking control this shit, and they have them in the backstage.
That's a real
on the
job,
Ellen
I bet.
show.
Oh, yeah.
100%.
They're like almost like borderline mobsters, like fixers.
So they invite these guys on the show, and instead of having them tell the story of what happened, Ellen tells the story. Ellen pulls out a map of the hallway, and she's got a pointer, and she's saying,
She wasn't there.
First,
She's
you
telling
guys
what
did
they-
this. First, you did that. But they're not even talking the whole time, Chris.
Because they
That's
don't
what I'm
have,
saying.
they wouldn't be able to probably, right? I mean,
Well,
she has to.
She had the
control
script.
narration.
She's controlling it, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
And it was all it was bullshit. You know, they fucked up big time. If they had responded sooner, think about this. You're a fucking casino. You've got cops in the fucking lobby.
Lots of them.
How fucking hard is it to
Right.
get up there and fucking do something? You know. Anyways, so my thing is this: the guy was a high roller, right? Here's the thing: people lose money and commit suicide in casinos all the fucking time.
Yeah, that's why they
You
don't have
never
windows.
fucking hear about it.
They don't have windows. When I was out in Vegas, one of the girls working there told me, I hate Vegas. Okay, I think it's fucking...
Gambling's a horrible addiction. too.
No, Dan, let me tell you, okay? I went out to Vegas for MJ BizCon, okay? It's the biggest marijuana business convention in the world, okay? And that's the only reason I went. People have been telling me for years, you got to go to Vegas, blah, blah, blah. That place is like the most disgusting example of what we're capable of, in my opinion. The amount of money they're selling like a bullshit commercial of this like rich, glitzy, famous life, right? And like poor people from all over the country that can't afford it are like saving up, going there, and spending large amounts of money, predominantly on gambling, but also on like other stupid luxuries, because they want like a small taste of like whatever it is that Vegas is selling them. It's like this commercial is being sold to these people and everyone's fucking buying into it. The amount of money that's being poured into that desert fucking shithole is retarded. They could solve so many fucking problems with that money. Like the Madagascar water situation, there's like a percentage of the money being thrown down the toilet in Vegas could buy that entire country clean water.
It could buy the entire country.
Yeah, the entire country could be whatever, but I'm saying like you could get the people clean drinking water, give them education, get them the fuck out of whatever problem they're in. But instead, we're going to dump it on shrimp cocktails and fucking, what happens in Vegas stays
Fear
in
and
Vegas.
loathing.
Yeah, what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. Like Vegas is for fucking pussies, man. All right, you want to go party somewhere? I'll take you to Bangkok. I'll show you where fucking good parties are at. All right, Vegas is a commercial that, like, in my opinion, demonstrates the grossest part of our society, which is like this capitalistic, wealthy commercialism thing.
It's Sin City.
Think about this. There's this huge debate going on right now, okay, as to whether or not schools, because we're talking about mass shootings, right? They do happen in schools a lot. There's a big talk. You have 4 kids. You must think about what happens, right? They have these drills now where they're teaching the kids to like get lockdown drills. Exactly. That's a real thing now, right?
Yeah.
When my kid
It's
told me,
a lot of people believe it's doing more harm than good because you're traumatizing the kids.
well, you gotta have, but dude, you gotta have some kind.
Yeah, I agree.
Like
it's tough.
fire drills are scary too. Like the school could catch on fire, we could all burn. But like you got to have a lockdown drill. So there's this big debate. People want an armed guard in every school, right?
Yeah.
And
or teachers with guns, like they have in
yes,
Florida
teachers with guns, all this sort of stuff. I was thinking about
That's
the
a cool
issue.
band name. Teachers with
with guns.
Yes.
Metal band, baby. I like the way your brain works.
Yeah,
that's
go
why
ahead.
we hang out.
Yeah.
That's why we became friends.
Teachers with guns.
Teachers
Take
with
my
guns,
band.
bitches. We don't play any instruments. We dress cool.
Yeah.
You got this. You got a lot of problem. I solved the whole thing in 5 minutes this week, William. Okay.
Oh, great.
I was smoking a joint right over there, and I was thinking about the podcast, and I was like, I got it all right now. You need to have guns in schools. You have to have them because if there's a trained professional with a firearm on the premises,
making minimum wage.
Yeah,
I don't care. I don't
strongly disagree.
I don't think they need to make minimum wage. I think there's like right now there's a bunch of trained people that are proficient in the use of firearms, ex-military people, vets, coming out needing a job. You know how many schools are in this country? Thousands, tens of thousands.
More vets than schools.
Fine, but it would create at least one job for every vet. Right now, have a vet in that school. And it's got to be like on the plane. It's got to be a sleeper cell, because if you're going to do a mass shooting in a school, the first guy you're going to take out is the armed guard, right? All right, I'm going to take that guy out, and then I get free reign of the place. So you got to have like the janitor or the librarian or somebody very unassuming be the guard, and there should be like a school liaison, people that volunteer to work with this person. They should be trained in the use of firearms, if not firearms, maybe some pepper spray, some other sort of deterrents. They should have something to give these people a chance to like just get away from whatever's going on or stop it, because police can't respond immediately, right? So I solved the problem of vets not having jobs and guns being in schools. And here's the fucked up thing.
There's a lot of vets who are SROs, school resource officers, that already exist in a lot of places.
Right, but
a lot of schools
it should
who
be
had
mandatory.
armed security guards
should
have
be
still had mass
should
shootings.
be mandatory.
Parkland, the SRO who was armed, got sued. He's getting sued to Kingdom Come, and he lost his job because he didn't run in and save the day. Yeah.
Can I ask you a question? I thought of this too, okay? Mm-hmm. There's a debate right now as to whether or not we want to have armed people in the school. They're like, oh, I don't know if we should do this. This is a debate. Should we protect these children or not? Yet we're driving around armored cars with money in them. Just money. With guys with guns and armor and like, you know what I'm saying? So like our society cares more about protecting.
Also making minimum wage.
Yeah. We can't, we're possibly going to get killed, whatever. I'm going to drive this money around wearing a gun. What I'm saying is our society cares more about protecting money than it does about protecting their kids, because there's no debate about whether these guys need guns. The armored car should keep them safe, but they need the gun for when they're out of the armored car. So, like, they're like, yep, give them the gun. They're guarding the money. Someone's going to try to steal it. But, like, guess what? Kids are way more important than money. But we can't fucking agree to protect the kids in the schools. It's fucking nuts. That's all I got.
It's a tough issue that people across the country are trying to grapple with right now. Whether it's the drilling or the security or the arming of teachers, it's a debate happening all over. And all states are different. Within each state, counties are different, towns are different. Ultimately, it's up to local people to determine what's best for them. And what my message, partially with the movie, is to parents is get involved. Ask your school, what is the drilling like? What are the protocols? What's the security plan? Find out what they're doing. And if you don't think it's up to snuff, there's resources where you can go and find information that you can bring to the school and share with them so that they can implement better strategies and forward thinking and planning. And guess what? If the school brushes you off and ignores your advice, you can then go to the media in the local paper and say, hey, I found out the school is not doing X, Y, Z. I tried to help and they refused to get my help. And then they run an article. School looks bad and they go, oh no, we're going to do something. So you have the ability to take an active role in your child's school security if you're concerned with that. But I don't think we should turn schools into prisons. They're building schools
they don't
like
have guns.
prisons.
They don't have guns in prison.
No, but they're building. There's literally a school in Detroit that's being built with a panopticon inside
for
of
security.
Yeah. And it's with the zero tolerance, 3 strikes policies they have for the violence or the threats. Some kid makes a stupid comment in a video game chat, and he's going to jail, and he's got that on his record for life, and it fucks up his whole future.
Well, this one over here just did a whole report on the institutional jail. Kingsley, that's our Dan's lovely wife on the institution and the economic like beast that is the prison complex. You know what I mean? Because it's like. It's not the war machine, but it's like it's its own machine.
Yeah, it's an industrial complex and private prisons and all that. Yeah.
There's a guy in prison that she covered that was like put in jail in the 70s for stealing a rake, and he's still in jail.
Wild.
It's fucked up.
Yeah, there's a kid in the Bronx who got arrested for a backpack. He wasn't even a criminal, never got a trial, never went before a judge, stayed in jail for years. Yeah. Finally, somebody said this fucking kid's been in jail all this time. He didn't do anything. Let him out. He gets out. He commits suicide a couple years later. He couldn't survive. Khalif Browder, I believe his name was.
Correct.
Not to be confused
with... a very sad, ridiculous story.
Yeah, totally fucked up. You take a kid and you just throw away their life without even a fucking trial or anything. Total violation of Constitution. Nothing. They never even charged him with a fucking crime.
And nobody was there to say, hey, this kid's in jail still.
Put him in. Yeah.
And then once
that
you're
would
in
never
there,
happen to one of us.
Well, there were some people who eventually, when they found out about it, like ACLU and people like that, and they tried to not really know.
You asked earlier, I think you asked, pretty stoned, but you said something to the effect of, why is it that it's white people that are doing these shootings?
No, the popular misconception is that it's a young white male problem. And it's not. There's people from all different races. I could rattle off a bunch of ones right now. We talked about Pulse in Orlando.
No, that's good. That's
Muslim guy, Virginia Tech.
No, I want to clarify.
Asian guy. There's so many examples.
I just want to clarify.
Yeah.
I wouldn't worry about it anyway. White people are living on borrowed
Well, no,
time.
because typically, especially, black people say,
Hey, listen.
it's all white people, right? Yeah. They say black people don't do this type of crime.
They do. They just shoot one of them. They do drive-bys and gangs.
Dave Chappelle did a whole special about it after the George Floyd murder called 846, and he talked about the cop in L.A. who was a black guy who was a war vet who saw other LAPD cops abusing prisoners.
Shit.
Reported it internally. They fired him and targeted him.
Yeah.
And he said, fuck you, and he targeted the cops. And then what did they do? They chased him into the woods in a cabin and burnt him fucking down with like fucking napalm or probably.
Well, they're the biggest.
Crazy.
Yeah.
I don't know what the movie is, but that one Italian cat says, "I belong to the biggest gang in the world, the law."
Is that Serpico or something?
No, it's not Serpico. It's dude. You don't think I know who Al Pacino is? Come on.
I don't know, man.
Any Greek shooters?
No.
Yes, there were. There's a whole book written by a Greek author who witnessed the mass shooting in Greece. Happens all over the world.
Our Democratic Republic of Greece was founded by the people rising up and mass killing all of the rich elite. They said,
well,
hey.
we were talking about Odysseus before.
Yeah,
right.
but
for you?
Well, that's different though, because he came to his house and he found these dudes in there, and he just said, nope.
He was highly justified in the.
He didn't go to a public place and just start drumming.
But we also only know the story that was told.
I wasn't there.
Who knows how accurate it is?
I thought it was
probably if you know the regular story of him, it's probably just a regular. You could probably compare it to some mass shooters that have gone through it now. PTSD from war.
Yeah, a lot of veterans historically in the United States. A lot of veterans with PTSD from World War I and World War II and Vietnam ended up. They had the sharpshooting skills. They had all that
skill set.
They had the skill set, and that's to get to the high body count, which gets them in the history books.
Girls like guys with good skills.
You know what I was thinking of?
Skills.
They like bad boys. They like bad boys.
Bow stuff. You know what I was thinking earlier, because you guys were talking about these problems, and in my head the wheels were turning about how these things are complex and there's multifaceted problems causing whatever.
Mm-hmm. I think it's the canary in the coal mine for a lot of other societal ills.
All I could take solace in was the fact that someday I'm going to die and not have to worry about it. And even if I do, the sun's going to blow supernova eventually and wipe out our whole solar system.
This is all going to get washed away.
So
every little nuance and subtle
issue. It's just a fucking sands on the tides of time, man.
In the long enough scheme of time, it's all washed away. Everything.
There won't even be a history book about it.
Even the great films will be gone someday.
That's what I'm
Elvis.
That's what makes me happy that I don't. Someday this will all just be not even no one will even know what happened.
Well, I'm glad that makes you feel better.
It's just a bad dream.
It doesn't make me feel better.
It's just a bad dream. Reality.
This is how we are evolving. We're evolving to figure out how to stop this shit, and everyone.
No, it's important. It's
at different levels of their.
No, you hit it right on the head. Right. The worst shit we go through in society, humanity, history leads to great advances.
Bingo.
The term genocide wasn't coined until the Holocaust. You know what I mean? There's, what is this pushing us toward? What is this? What do we move? What is it? What do we have to move toward? And that's more peacefulness. That's more nonviolent techniques. That's more emotional intelligence and learning to work through your problems without having to punch the person in the face. Even though that's needed sometimes.
Don't teach the kids Taekwondo. Teach them Aikido, which is neutralizing your opponent with the minimal amount
and completely worthless and useless in a real fight. Yeah, it is.
Really?
I've seen those YouTube videos.
You know what?
You know it is.
I'm interested. I'm interested to hear you say that, because you've personally witnessed me knock people out.
That's not Aikido, though. Come on.
Okay.
I'm not talking about your karate. I'm talking about Aikido.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm talking about Aikido specifically.
Giant turkey's a little over the line, my man.
It's like Tai Chi.
One hand washes the other. I was about to fucking...
No.
Oh, boy.
No. I'm not
Safe word.
I'm not talking about martial arts. I'm talking about just Aikido.
So you do think kids should learn martial arts?
Yes, I do. I just don't think they should learn Aikido.
Okay, but part of this, jiu-jitsu, would be good to teach kids in school.
Yes, jiu-jitsu, taekwondo,
Muay Thai.
kickboxing, Muay
Because
Thai.
Muay Thai is extremely effective. I can tell you that right now.
Muay Thai and ground
elbows
fighting
and elbows and knees.
Yeah, wrestling.
Dude, you want to see a fight? That's a fight.
But have you guys heard of this psychic Baba Vanga?
No.
We've heard of Bob Lazar.
No.
Baba Vanga was I think she was Bulgarian or Austrian or something.
Oh yeah, I know who you're talking
But
about.
she
got
was
struck by
blinded.
lightning.
She was blinded as a child in a sandstorm.
Yeah.
And then she got all these psychic powers.
Yeah.
And she was actually the most sought after psychic in World War II because she
Yeah, I
could
know.
predict the
I know who you're
outcome of
talking-
all these battles.
Talking about
She
Baba
was
Yaga.
real?
Baba Vanga.
Baba Vanga.
You
Yeah.
think she was real?
No, she's a
Real
person.
human, yeah. Real
No, I mean a real psychic.
She got struck
she
by.
definitely had some sort of
She got
powers.
struck by.
Yeah.
She got struck by lightning.
So
as
she
a-
died.
as a
She died
kid.
in the 80s, right? And
She
but she had
predicted-
all these predictions that are still coming true today. She predicted
cool.
the ice caps are going to melt in 2030. So we got 9 years left before the ice caps melt.
Nice.
She predicted
Good.
the Muslims are going to take over
Good
Europe.
swimmer.
But she also predicted that eventually we'll overcome hate and violence. That's Baba Vanga.
Yeah.
Oh,
Right?
their death photo?
You see her? Yeah, she
standing
got
up right
yeah,
there.
she got that's her as an old lady, but she got if I know the story, she got struck by lightning as a kid. And
It wasn't like
fused
I don't
her
think it was
eyelids.
struck by lightning. It was she got caught up in a sandstorm or some sort of storm that knocked the debris into her eyes and blinded.
Well, something caused her to have the second sight.
Yeah, well, I think that event was it.
You're saying losing her vision made her psychic?
Well, getting caught in that storm, maybe it was a divine storm of some sort. Who knows?
Saying there was some
And
sort
so
of
she-
electromagnetism in the storm unlocked.
Well, I
What-
think when you lose one sense, the others are heightened.
Absolutely,
whatever,
but
you
why
know.
are not- why are
her
all
third
blind
eye
people-
unlocked?
Yeah.
Something funny
Something happened, yeah, for sure. No, she's pretty. I think she's considered pretty legit. You don't know who this woman is?
No.
This is so up your alley.
I know.
bro.
I'm going to be looking into it. I don't know what this is.
But so let me tell you about it though. So one of her predictions is that we're going to overcome violence and we're going to become a peaceful society. We're going to expand interplanetary,
That's
right?
big.
And eventually we're
She
going to
said
be
that
able
back then?
Yeah, eventually in year like 30,000 or something, we're going to be able to talk and communicate directly with God. Is one of the things she said. But I think
bad. I'm not going to be alive then.
yeah, but
Not in this body.
you'll be alive to see the ice caps melt though. So you got that.
Okay. I just want to be around for like some really cool technology.
I want to.
But I think we have to. I think what's happening, and this is what I was thinking before you said that, is that we have to figure this out to get into space.
You're
We're
saying
just developing shit to fucking kill each other.
you're saying before we can harness. Yeah, no.
We have to overcome the violent DNA that was ingrained in us over millennia.
Yeah,
of a species. to
Unfortunately,
evolve.
unfortunately, war propels our technology fast.
It
Right?
doesn't have to, though.
But what is
Doesn't
war
have
these
to.
days? Again, we're living in the most peaceful time in history.
Well, here's the thing, right? Why does
getting there.
why does somebody get up off their ass and do anything, right? Like they have to be interested in it and they have to want to do it, right? So you think like the scientists that are working at CERN, do you think like they give a shit what you pay them, or do you think they want the opportunity to work?
No, they love what they're doing.
Yeah.
Just like we love
So,
what we do.
so there's like a
All
gajillion
of
people.
us.
There's a gajillion people in our planet, right? Most of them have no fucking clue what they want to do. And even if they did, there isn't an opportunity for them to do it.
But they don't
It's
have
a-
the aptitude,
we-
too.
or they don't have the
But
aptitude.
still.
Yeah, we live in a competitive. This is the jungle.
Yeah.
The jungle's competitive. Not
We're
a,
in the jungle, baby.
yeah, not
You're going to die.
who survives in the jungle, William? The strong and
the
the weak. and-
silverbacks.
yeah, and the weak get eaten.
alphas, Yeah.
Right.
So there's just unfortunately not a place for everyone in society. But I feel like what's going on right now is that everyone pretty much gets off their ass in the morning, 99% of us, just to pay the bills. But that's because that's the jungle's rule too. I mean, if you lived in the jungle, you'd have to get up, hunt, gather, get firewood, whatever, sustain yourself, right? So you have to do something to sustain yourself. But what I'm saying is at this point in our evolution, we're totally connected as a planet. We can talk to anyone anywhere in the world in real time. We should be able to solve a lot of problems if we stop blowing each other up with guns and start putting some of that energy towards making, let's cure AIDS. How about that? Or cancer. Let's figure out that one. Or let's really get genetic engineering down fucking perfect so that we stop having like defects and stuff. You know what I mean?
Well, we spend, if you look at
CRISPR.
the government budget, how much money we spend on the military-industrial complex
it's through the roof.
just to blow bombs up in the desert in Nevada and New Mexico still.
Well,
I mean,
the space program
it's
costs
ludicrous. You talked about using the money in Vegas to solve global
Space
problems.
program is only like.
I'm not talking
90%
NASA.
of the
I'm not
budget,
talking
though.
NASA. I'm
Oh,
talking
okay.
the UFO space
Oh,
program.
I was going to say that too.
The black budget.
Yeah, yeah. So think about all the money going to black projects that we don't ever see.
It's like 20%.
It's a huge amount of money.
Well, they don't audit the Pentagon. They don't audit the DoD.
How come?
Because there's too much fucking money.
It's
Don't-
all
There's-
classified
there-
too.
you could take all the top auditing firms in the country in the world and they still wouldn't have enough manpower to audit that much paper.
And they don't have the security level
They
either.
don't even keep track or keep receipts for that.
So the only way to do it's a supercomputer.
There was
you got to trust the computer.
There was a fucking plane, a 747 of like $40 billion in fucking greenback cash, you know, straight up dollar bills taken from a bank in New Jersey, flew over Iraq, disappeared. You know, no account for it. You know, there's just.
What do you think they did with it?
Somebody got paid.
I mean, people are getting paid. I'm still hearing stories about, you know.
You think they're trying to manipulate the
body
government?
bags coming back full of heroin from Afghanistan. You know what I mean? Like there's so much going on that we.
It's hard to make a buck.
Refuse to acknowledge or believe in.
Somebody's feeling the
too,
heroin.
It's too dark.
Yeah. It's a big circle. Society is a circle.
Jerk.
Let me ask you this: what led you to want to start making this film?
You want to refocus on his film career?
I want to bring it back a little. We can. I mean, you're very knowledgeable on the subject. Obviously, dived in, but
you are a filmmaker.
How did it come to this?
So I wanted to direct my first feature film, and I had a variety of ideas I could pursue. I wrote a list of all the different options or topics to tackle. I'm looking at this list and thinking about it, and I realized the one subject that was connected to all the other subjects that I was interested in was mass shootings. And that was what I found interesting about it. And I'm from New Jersey, and one of the guy who's considered the grandfather of mass murderers is a guy named Howard Unruh, who in 1949 in Camden, New Jersey, did what is called and known as the Walk of Death. And he was a closeted homosexual who lived with his mom in the basement, and all he did was deliver sermons about prophecies at church and target gun practice in his basement.
He was definitely...
And the neighbors were fucking with him, and the little town kids would ride by their bikes in 1949 and say, "You fucking faggot," whatever.
He definitely got sent to Catholic reprogramming camp in the summertime.
Well, he just, he was like the OG incel, basically.
Yeah.
What's an incel again, Dan?
An incel's a guy who can't get laid.
What does it stand for? What's the acronym?
I don't know.
Involuntary celibate.
Yeah. Okay. So they're involuntary celibate, and they just basically it gets worse and worse, and they get more and more unfuckable. And women, they just start hating women. Basically, incel is to describe a lonely guy. He's a gamer. He's on Reddit a lot, 4chan, and
used to be Reddit. He got kicked off.
Yeah. Okay. And that's what it is.
It's real. All right.
Yeah.
Well,
that's a very good explanation of it.
I'll tell you what. It's better.
Close
It's
enough,
an
right?
online community.
It's better than those kids.
Well, they find sympathy with each other.
They love YouTube videos, like conspiracies. They hate women. Like they think that women just should reciprocate what they're feeling.
Yeah.
Like, and they go above their...
They've been rejected their whole life.
They're like a 2 on a scale out of 10 for looks, but if a 10 out of 10 doesn't go for them, they're like,
they can't,
fuck
they
that.
don't
I
understand
can't handle
it.
that.
Yeah.
And it's just not the way it works.
Well, that's better than like the good-looking young kids that are voluntarily celibate.
Well, no,
those kids are breaking the rules of nature.
That's
offensive.
That is offensive.
There's different levels of incel, right? So Elliot Rodger, who was like kind of the founding father, they call him Saint Elliot Rodger. He did a mass shooting in Isla Vista. He had a famous manifesto. I'm going to go to the hottest sorority and fucking kill all the blonde sluts and all this stuff.
Fuck those guys. These guys sound like the
Yeah, he was a rich kid.
He's
like, I'm wearing Gucci sunglasses. I'm driving a Mercedes Benz. I'm a supreme gentleman. Why don't girls want to fuck me?
They're always such a gentleman. Meanwhile, they're calling girls sluts and shit.
Yeah, dude. You'll never hear me say that word. I say cool girl. Fun girl, positive, cool, awesome person to hang out.
Hold on, I want to answer Sean's question though.
Yes.
What is
so,
it? What
so
was it? I thought it was how to get into.
How did I get into this though? So there was the Howard Unruh connection to New Jersey, and I learned about Howard Unruh in the summer of, I want to say 2012. And that same week, a young black kid from a town nearby where I lived, who was a veteran, shot up the Pathmark, the supermarket where he worked. He killed a few of his coworkers. Right? And why didn't that story get national headlines and get out? He's a young black kid.
Right.
It doesn't fit the narrative.
Doesn't fit the narrative, right? So that got me thinking.
Who's controlling that? Why is it? You're saying the media? I'm trying to just make sure I got my facts straight.
It's like a big consciousness of
You're
media.
trying to say that the media and the fake news and all the people that put shit out there, everybody is trying to put this thing on white males?
It's not necessarily, they don't have an agenda.
Isn't the
It's
media
not like a conscious
controlled
mind.
by
No,
white males?
it's so the most high profile cases tend to get the most attention in the media and paint the portrait of what this crime is. So going back to amok in Malaysia, they classified these crimes 2 different ways. There was amok and bear amok. And bear amok was the more common kind, and that was driven by depression. Amok was rage and anger and hatred or
They were
out to kill as many people as possible, right?
Yeah,
yes, and those are the cases that get the most attention today in the media. But bear amok is the more common one, and that's the depression, suicide one, and that's the one that doesn't get enough attention.
Well, a lot of these guys who are incels probably don't end up shooting; they just end up killing themselves or something like
Exactly.
that, or slipping into deep depression.
It sounds like
Or
these guys
some
are-
come out of it. Some grow up and they get emotional intelligence and they realize,
Or they just meet somebody.
yeah, they meet somebody. Yeah, exactly.
Oh, you're talking like stalkers, guys that have that mentality. Like, why isn't this girl?
At least that's a commitment.
All right. You
Yeah.
respect the commitment.
Yeah, it's a commitment.
But
you know,
Sean,
they put the time in and the research.
I just feel like there's an ask for a receipt. I mean, I went to Disney World a couple of years ago, and I remember seeing like these really off balance couples, like, you know.
Money makes up for look sometimes.
Yeah, I hear you, but it was not. It was like, it felt like what I was looking at was a lot of like sugar mamas that had gotten younger, better looking guys, and they were like paying their bills. I don't know if Florida's that spawns
Sure,
a lot of that.
happens.
But you sound like an incel because they look at other happy couples and they're like,
No.
why does that guy have that
No.
girl?
And I don't have her.
No
Yeah.
way, no way.
I know that's not your judgment.
No,
of it,
no,
but
no.
I'm saying your observation.
It's also
You're
not what I.
thinking
It's
about.
also not what I was seeing. I was seeing very unattractive females with better, way more attractive males, and so I was thinking.
Well, a
to
lot
myself,
of them lose it after they get married. Like
Yeah.
they get stuck.
They
Well,
call
it's-
them milkmen in
It's funny.
Jamaica.
It's funny. It's funny you say that. I work out with this guy. His real name is Adam, but he's Indian and has a hardcore Indian accent. So I just call him Gandhi. And this dude has got muscles on top of muscles on top of fucking muscles. He's got no body fat, right?
A lot of the black massive shooters are like that.
And I asked him, I'm working out with him, and the other day I'm like, Gandhi, how long are you going to keep this body for? And he didn't even think about it. He immediately goes, until I get married. And I was like, that's it? And he's like, yeah, when you're Indian and you get married, there's no divorce. So, like, once you get married, just let yourself go. And I was like, that's it? I'm like,
He's worked so
I
hard
was
for that.
trying to explain to him, I'm like, my buddy's been married with four kids with a wife, and he just got in the best shape of his life. I'm like, you're just going to, but I guess he's just working up to get a good wife, and then he's going to let it all go. And this guy, I mean, hey.
That's your plan. I mean,
So Sean was asking earlier how you got into this, but was it this subject or was it movie making? Or
Subject.
all your work?
The
'Cause
subject-
You've
the
done
sub-
other work, man.
yeah, I've done other work. This is my first.
You just
time
really want to
directing
focus
a
on
feature.
promoting this.
Well,
Yeah, that's what I wanted to come on the
This is
podcast
your-
because it's a cool subject. You know, it's obviously
a
there's
horrible
trauma,
subject.
people are killed, it's horrible, but it's complex, it's connected to all these other things. There's all these misconceptions in society about it. I mean, I've
Killed in a
gone
dishonorable way, which is the worst part about it.
yeah, well, it's just horrific. You know, it's the pure essence of horror. You know, and it's so overwhelming that it overwhelms our thought process, and it's hard to think about. It's hard to talk about.
When does it become a constitutional like when does Texas say, I don't feel comfortable sending my high school age kid to school without wearing a gun, himself or herself? Mm-hmm. You know, like when does that become an issue? Where one group says, I won't send my kid to school unless they're wearing a gun. And the other group's like, you can't send your kid to school wearing a gun because they could hurt my
See,
kid.
fear is the big problem.
No, fear is the weapon.
So I've studied the logic of failure. I've studied failure in and of itself. And there's this brilliant German professor called Dietrich Dorner. He wrote this book on failure, the logic of failure. He studied Chernobyl. He studied all these examples of across the globe.
His name's
Like
Dietrich.
giant fails.
Dietrich Dorner. Yeah.
Epic
Anyway,
fails.
Epic fails.
Sounds like
right?
a scientist
And
right out
what
the
he
gate.
discovered was
Oh, his name's
Dietrich.
Dietrich.
Yeah.
That's not some loser's name.
That's
That's
all.
a scientist
You
name.
throw PhD at the end of that, I'll believe you.
yeah, and who knows better than the Germans about epic failure in society? right?
The Zemans.
They don't like to talk about it.
Facts.
Why would they?
I
Well,
wouldn't.
yeah. So he, what he discovered was failure does not strike like a bolt from the blue. It develops according to its own logic over time.
Meaning what?
Meaning that there's a process and a system to how failure develops. And what happens is there's habits of thought.
Sure.
that lead to failure.
Yeah,
and
negative thinking.
it's the fear of the failure happening
Causes
that
the failure.
leads to us to take action and reactions
Like when
that
Batman-
make failure worse or inevitable.
It's the opposite.
rather
It's kind
than
of like when
prevent it.
Batman has to escape the cave, but he needs the fear to make the jump, or he won't be able to make it. But you're saying the fear is causing him to stumble and fall
The
down.
fear is causing us to take steps of action that are making things worse.
Oppenheimer, if I'm not mistaken, was actually quoted. He, did the atom bomb. In case you're wondering,
Right, I know.
now I am become death. After he
Destroyer of
Destroyer
Worlds.
of Worlds. That's the guy. He was quoted, if I'm not mistaken, as saying that that the destruction of the Earth is unavoidable unless we stop trying to stop it.
He understood the logic of
You know
failure.
what I'm saying? He's
Yeah.
like the fear of us trying to stop whatever we're afraid of happening is actually going to be what causes us to blow ourselves up. You know what I mean?
That's exactly
And
it. Yeah.
he was dealing with nuclear weapons at the time, so he was like, guys, I did this because I wanted to see if I could get it done. But now that we've done it, this is a super dangerous device. We should not be using these whatsoever. But then they, just said, here.
The road to hell was paved with good intentions.
Here's 10. I don't
you know?
Who knows what his intentions were, dude? He was a straight Nazi. But I mean, NASA, GPS, everything we have today really kind of started it with their program. So
Have you guys heard of the Cobra effect before?
Cobra Kai
No, Cobra
season
effect.
3?
I've only did season
We've
1.
talked about that.
Yeah, I did season 1. I didn't get past that.
Sensei Kreese is back
Yeah.
Yeah,
with
you gotta-
vengeance.
You got to finish it up.
What are you talking about? The Cobra effect?
So
Effect.
in British colonial India,
Mm-hmm.
when the Brits were there, they were like, "There's way too many fucking cobra snakes running around.
There are.
We got
20,000 deaths a year.
we got to do something about
a real
this,
number.
Right? This is a social problem. We need to solve it. What are we going to do? We're going to put a bounty on the snakes, and if people kill them and bring us the snake, we give them a couple shillings,
Sure.
whatever.
the Indian cobra, not the
Right?
nausea.
Snuff 'em.
So at first, the program was highly successful. People were killing the cobras, bringing them in, getting paid. Everybody was happy.
Eventually, more people were getting stung than before,
A bit.
weren't they?
Well,
Yeah.
you know why?
'Cause they were going after 'em.
No, because some enterprising Indians decided, I'm going to start breeding cobras to fucking sell to the government. Right? The government caught wind of what was happening and they shut the program down. What did the breeders do? The breeders set all their
Man.
fucking cobras free in the wild. So now you've
Humans
got
are
10 times
smart.
more cobras in the wild than when you fucking started.
Cobras are everywhere
So-
there, too.
So they-
the common Indian cobra is
that
everywhere.
is a great story. They wanted to
illustrates
solve a
the
certain
point.
problem, and they actually made it get worse.
Exactly. And it wasn't that they had good intentions, but when you're,
Yeah.
it
I hate
sometimes
to
makes things worse.
I hate to say it, but right now, my biggest fear with this vaccine is that's exactly what's going on.
I already got it.
I know you did, but
Because it will accelerate the variant.
my biggest fear about
prevents illness.
I think that the way that humans responded to the COVID thing was like a really good fire drill in case like an actual virus
Like an
broke out
airborne
that was
Ebola.
that was killing half of our 20-year-old population.
We would never leave the
There was
house if that
like a real extinction level event was going to happen. That was a good fire drill for it, right?
Still happening.
Yeah, I know it's still happening, but at this point, we're at a stage where people are losing their fear. They're going out. People
They're
aren't
gonna open up
people
soon.
aren't dying left and right.
Summer's going to be a good summer.
We're pretty sure that if you're young and
We're
healthy,
managing.
I hope.
we're pretty sure. Even if we weren't, we're pretty sure at this stage, if you're young and healthy and get it, you're okay, right?
Yeah.
If you've got an underlying issue, it's going to attack. It's going to get worse, whatever. But my biggest concern since this thing fucking started was, and we're not supposed to talk about COVID, but this kind of plays into what you're
it's just
saying.
fine.
So,
yeah, absolutely.
no, our rules.
We have
Our
Okay,
rules.
well, I'm not asking your permission. These
That's
are
what
our
we've been talking
rules.
about for a year, so it's like,
Yeah.
we don't
No
want to bring it to the
COVID,
show.
no-
The
no
only
politics.
thing I want to say on it is my biggest fear is that the very act of social distancing and the very act of rushing or even putting a vaccine out there may be what causes the virus, which is also a living organism that plays by the same rules we do. It adapts to its environment and to survive. Our response to it could be the very thing that triggers it to do what Dan's talking about, to make it airborne and go
Yeah, but
start wipe
even
out
if it doesn't
20-year-olds.
mutate, though, the vaccine can help against any variant of it.
I know.
It can help.
I know,
So
I'm just saying.
It prevents illness like prevent polio. It's a good thing, I think.
I think they know what they're
That, herd
doing.
immunity.
I think they know what they're doing, and I hope they do. I'm just saying, my first thought when this whole thing went down was, please don't make this thing worse by trying to make it better,
Nah, viruses don't think like that. They just get worse by spreading and and mutating as they
Right.
go.
They're trying to find ways to spread.
Yeah, but like they're not gonna like try harder if it gets harder to spread. You put up roadblocks to a virus, and it becomes harder to spread, and it stops spreading eventually.
But doesn't
you got to put roadblocks everywhere?
Doesn't
like vaccine,
but doesn't
antibodies,
masks,
immune masks.
Lysol.
Like eventually you throw all that in there, and we have herd immunity, and it just becomes like the flu.
But you know what I'm saying though is that. What do you think triggers the virus to mutate and change? It's a response to its environment. It's not just a random
but it's not
mutation.
an intelligent response. It is a random mutation.
I'm pretty sure it's intelligent.
That's what evolution is. It's evolution based on random genetic mutation.
Yeah.
Like say like you have like
it's the ultimate intelligence.
Say you have like bears in the Arctic that are half are brown, half are white. All right, the white ones or say like one's white and 10 are brown. That's a genetic random mutation that made this bear white. But the white bears survive better because it's the snow. So slowly the brown bears die off and it becomes a polar bear.
Right.
That's how genetic mutation and evolution works.
Yeah, but something triggered that response in the bear.
It was slow though.
Yeah, but it happened.
It happened, but so did me. I have a dick that I love. And that didn't just happen overnight.
It's had a quality control sticker on it thrice.
Not
once.
And
not
past
twice.
QC 3 times. My wife can confirm it.
It's past QC way more than that. It's past QC confirmed 4 times.
Either way, I don't need to use the dick excuse again. I'm just saying though, like it's an amazing what we have in our brains, and just the whole world is just amazing in how it came to be.
Yeah, well, I'm just telling you.
And people have a lot of ways to explain that, but I just go with pure science and evolution. But at the same time, like. We need to do something to put up roadblocks for this virus.
No,
we've been successful before.
That's why we quarantine ships and things. I mean, it's an effective technique. I'm just saying on a global scale, it might have repercussions we don't understand.
I think
there are repercussions.
It's good to be careful and to evaluate to make sure any action we take doesn't have negative consequences that could potentially make it worse.
Listen, quarantine...
do no harm. It's the first law of medicine. Do no harm.
Quarantine flags are a big deal, okay? In the Swiss Family Robinson, the pirate's going to attack them, and the father's like, hey, raise the quarantine flag. It'll make them think we're all sick, and they won't want any of our shit. And sure enough, the pirates...
Our kids still need...
Getting back to what I said earlier... When you're going to be violent in society, you weigh it out before you do it. You say, do I really want to go steal that ship? Is it going to be a nice, easy snatch, or am I going to get quarantine virus or whatever, So, all right, William. You got plenty of time. We're not on a limit. What's on your agenda, buddy?
These crimes have been happening for a long time in society. And art reflects life, and life reflects art, right? So one of the first music videos I remember growing up, which was very popular and very vivid and dramatic, was Pearl Jam, Jeremy. Y'all remember that? Remember that?
It was about a kid getting bullied. And
it was about a real kid in real life from Texas who was bullied.
Flipped the fuck out.
But he killed himself in front of his classmates.
Yeah.
And this is the early 1990s.
Full Metal Jacket.
And this is what preceded the rash of school shootings in the 90s.
Well, there's a lot of
kids
suicide.
killing themselves publicly in front of their classmates.
Whoa.
And once Jeremy happened, there was a whole string of copycats of other kids killing themselves, first in Texas and then other states, in front of their classmates. Now,
that's horrible, but maybe it's for the best of the herd, that they don't pass on the genes.
The Columbine shooters were...
Just stop.
It's a horrible thing, but something
that one just came out of nowhere.
I'm just saying it's a horrible thing but it seems like they're mentally ill, and that's what it is this, right? Like they're mentally ill.
Not all the time.
Kids, though, too.
I know, but something's off.
Like
Something's off with them, dude, and the pack doesn't accept them, and that's what leads to the bullying.
Well, no. Again, you can't paint everything with the same paintbrush.
No,
I told you about the kickboxer from Michigan.
Yeah, I know.
Who was a straight up dude, and just got pushed to the edge. It wasn't. He didn't have any mental illnesses. He didn't have any social problems.
We're putting these people in these artificial situations too.
Everybody's got to break.
School's like man-made. Like we're putting all these kids together. Like they wouldn't have been like that.
You have to fit. You have to fit it. You have to fit in there or you're good. But you know what? Yeah. Guess what? In Malaysia, whatever he was talking about earlier with the running amok, they had a model for what their society was supposed to look like.
Everybody's a model. It's like social construct.
Yeah, you have to fit into this right here, and you either do or you don't. And that's how you're measured in society. It doesn't matter what time it is, 1,000 years, 10,000 years.
I think we all have a fundamental human need to be seen, be heard, be loved, be valued for what we bring to
in varying degrees
to our communities and our society.
Some have more of a need, some have less.
True. But, when it comes down to like everyone having a job or a function, right? And again, if people,
Purpose.
especially there's a crisis of masculinity basically in the country now and manhood because people, all the young people living at home with their families and not being able to afford or start their own families or buy their own homes.
Well, that's a byproduct of the toxic masculinity culture from post World War II.
But if you're not, if you don't,
still
if you're
hanging
not,
on.
We don't have the rituals. They used to have life or death rituals to become a man. Like you used to have to go on the hunting trip.
For sure.
In Madagascar, you had to go steal a cow from the rival village.
Or like on a vision
and
quest.
get away with it.
In Sparta,
they
kick the kids out when they were 10.
We don't have those. We don't have those coming of age rituals in our society anymore. And there's, so these people feel a certain type of way about that. And what's the ultimate way to assert your value in society and make yourself seem like this god or this supreme being?
Make money or be good at sports.
Yeah, it's like, oh, you thought I was a fucking little pussy or a little, you thought I was a little weakling. Guess what?
That's like being good at sports.
I'm gonna take everybody out and show you that I'm the supreme being and I'm the real one.
Getting back to what you were talking about with rites of passage, you're saying we used to have a rite of passage to become a man in society. Mm-hmm. You didn't say that everyone passed the test. There were probably plenty of people that didn't make it, right?
Or people who had to keep retaking it until they did
it.
Yeah,
it's a pass-fail.
Not all the time. It's
I don't know the grading system of every culture over.
In America, right? It's get a job, get a wife, get a house, have kids,
401k,
provide for your family,
401k,
right? What if you can't? What if you can't have kids? What if you can't have a girl?
Yeah.
What if you can't have a high-paying job?
Yeah, well, girls have roles, gender roles too, right? I mean, it's one sitting right over there.
Yeah, well, girls can be mass shooters too. Girls have been mass shooters too, and there's been guy-girl couples like Bonnie and Clyde or the Starkweathers back in the day who went on this romantic escapade of killing people.
Well, I think for women, it's
not natural-born killers.
I think for women, it's Bonnie and Clyde, baby. I think for women, the pressure is to get married and have kids still, and I think it's less.
Yeah, I think get married, have kids. Yeah,
King, I know you're not on air, but give me a thumbs up or a thumbs down. Do you think that the social pressure on the male is to go out and earn and be a provider, and that the female it has to get married and have kids like that? You have these aunts and uncles.
Evolving.
You have these aunts that'll say, "When are you gonna find a nice guy and settle down? That's gonna solve all your problems."
No,
as a
single
woman.
women, it's still like that.
Yeah,
I mean, yes and no. It depends. I mean, it really depends.
You know what I mean?
She's saying yes and no. It really depends.
Yeah, but
It depends on which generation you talk to. The boomers are going to want you to have kids right
that's
away.
their value.
It's the boomers.
And the
Fucking boomers.
millennials,
They really
fucking millennials.
the millennials
Okay,
and stuff
boomer.
are
Okay,
look at
boomer.
me and they're like,
Be
"Why
responsible.
don't you have 4 children?
Yeah, be
That's
responsible.
insane."
Yeah.
Right.
Boomers like their own posts on Facebook. Enough said.
They're like, look, it's on the internet.
Look
Somebody
at
can
that.
see it. Somebody could see it.
I like that.
No, but in different
You
cultures,
posted
right?
it.
Like in India, with the arranged marriages, right?
Yeah, it's still a big
if
thing.
you
man.
can't get an arranged marriage, it's like
Yeah, but
it's
that's
bad
being-
whether
that's
you're a
being
guy
res-
or a girl. But
that's
it's
being
even worse for
culturally-
the girl.
It's being culturally resisted. Was your homeboy arranged marriage?
No.
How did it go down?
Met her online.
Did they eat hamburger?
21st century way.
You don't have to say it on the air. You don't want to get anyone in trouble.
Hamburger?
What are you talking about?
yes.
He's got a good buddy that's Hindu, Indian, Hindi, however you want to look at
He
it.
didn't, and then he
Does he eat
changed.
cows?
He does.
And I was asking if his marriage had been arranged. But
No.
yeah, William had prepared some notes, and I want to make sure we cover all the material. Yeah, well, you're drinking. You gotta. What goes in has to come
Drain the
out.
weasel.
What goes in, what has to come
It's a
out.
total normal bodily function.
Yeah, we'll try to not get it on air.
I have trouble not peeing on the seat.
Start telling you guys the real dope.
Yep.
Hey, just so can I say something?
Please do.
I always talk about poop in the show. There's always one time when I talk about poop. So about a quick story. My son,
Excellent.
he's 3. He didn't poop.
Thank goodness.
He didn't poop for 7 days.
Get out.
So he's holding it in like
James?
He's like, yeah, he's like.
Oh yeah, you told me you had to put a
He
suppository.
won't potty training, so we had to put a suppository up his ass. Literally 3 minutes later, he's going, and he shit.
So my understanding after discussing it with your better half was that he had such a large, dense, hard chunk of human feces lodged in his canal that he couldn't push it through.
He just didn't want to push it through, I don't
And
think,
well, it
too.
hurt. Whatever. There was just it wasn't fun
not
for him.
fun.
And so you lubed it up and it slid right out.
No, well, the glycerin gets like absorbed by the butthole, and it loosens it up. It's like a drug. It's like a medication.
Loosens it right out.
Loosens right out. So yeah. So that's my story.
Big lump of shit coal fell right out
Yeah,
of
it was
your
amazing how fast it worked. It was
You're-
like he just backed up. And he's like, "Oh my god, oh shit,
Something's happening. Your wife gave me a twice signal that it happened twice. You have
Oh, it happened twice. Yeah, yeah.
suppository.
And it worked same amount of time each time.
So you
Nice.
endorse this product.
Yep. Yeah. So if I have to shit real bad, I'm sticking
Now
one of
you
those little things
now
in
you
my
know
ass.
laxatives are not where it's at. Put one
No,
of these
no,
things
no.
up your butt.
Put a little glycerin thing up your butt, and you're gonna be shitting your brain.
Solve it at the bottle.
That's it.
You see, William, I know. What have you listened to? Just one episode? Three? Oh, wow, that's like half. So far, Dan's mentioned bowel movements on every episode. And
It's important.
Yeah, they are. And he just shared a nice little poop story while you were peeing just to fill the time.
Fill me in.
His son didn't take a dump for a week. They shoved the
3 years old.
suppository up his ass and
Yeah.
it fell right out. It fell
3
right
minutes
out.
later, 3 minutes later, he shit. We did it twice.
Sean, did I get it?
Didn't poop for a whole week.
Thank you.
Pretty
He's
much
holding
nailed
it
it.
in because he's potty training, and like he just like doesn't want to go in his diaper. Doesn't want to go at all. So he just thinks he can hold it in forever.
Best poop I ever took in my life is after I quit a job that I didn't like. Took an amazing shit.
Freedom.
afterwards.
See, now we're totally covered. We got the guest to give us a poop story.
Yeah,
Yeah,
there
we talked
go.
a little bit about UFO. Well,
So
about documentary.
podcasts are becoming a big thing now. Obviously, we've got one, right?
We're one of like a million or
But
more.
there are so many.
Yeah,
Like, I
there's a
was
lot out
searching
there.
for ours in the title, and there were literally tens of like
Similar ones.
titles that begin with
Yeah.
T,
Right.
then that,
Yeah.
and then like every fucking word.
Well,
So
searching
I found
random
it.
podcasts is not going to get listeners.
Sure, but
It's
what
gonna
I'm
be like a
saying
web
is,
of, like,
there's a
referrals.
sea of them out there, and everyone's doing them. But one of the things that we're learning about doing it, because we don't know what the fuck we're doing, is we're just kind of developing little things that, and this must how TV shows must go down like this too. You know, someone must come up with an idea and they write it in, and then it becomes part of the show.
Right. Work it in.
But like, yeah, we've come up with little segments. Like Dan's supposed to do Bizarre Beyond Belief, but in reality, it's just really turned into him telling stories about poop every week. That's been more consistent than the Bizarre Beyond
Let's do
Belief.
just the tip. Where's just the tip?
Yeah.
Just the
That's
tip
the tip.
for the week? Oh, God, I don't know. I've already given away eye contact, pheromones, body language. We talked
Yeah,
about
pass off a note in the grocery
pass
store.
off notes. Don't
I've got
say
one, I've got
anything.
one,
I'm
I've
running
got
out. I'm running
All
out.
right,
of
here we
moves.
go.
I've got one.
Go ahead. You want to give it just the tip?
Yeah, for sure.
You do
for
well.
sure.
You do well. So okay, go.
Yeah, because I've had guys like look at me and stuff like, "How does he do it?" You know, I'm not, anything special.
Referencing hooking up with hot babes.
Yeah, exactly,
On the reg.
exactly.
Gotcha.
And what it is I met a guy, worked with a guy one time who was nothing special, average guy, blue collar guy, but he had a hot girl, and he was a real cool guy. I smoked weed with him. He was
Well, there you
a good
go.
guy.
There you go.
But we talked about it, and he was like, what I discovered was, or what he discovered, he's saying, what I discovered. He's like, is that the most important thing is to know yourself and be comfortable with yourself.
Bingo.
That's the key to success. If you're comfortable with your success, yourself, if you're comfortable with yourself as a man, women will be
You
attracted
reek
to
of
you.
it.
It's funny you say that
Exactly.
because you know what my just the tip for the week was going to be? What? You got to work with what you got.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean?
Maximize the hand
And
you were
it
dealt.
kind of plays into the guys you were talking about earlier that get rejected by chicks that are 10.
They're not sure of themselves at all. If you're not sure of your own self, how can you be sure of other people?
They're telling themselves negative stories about themselves.
You can smell that a mile away.
Yeah, it reeks of it. You reek of either confidence.
Let me just tell you this.
Or
Okay?
or all the pickup artists, or the overly confident, cocky guys with all the negging and stuff. Like, I understand, like, there's reasons that can work temporarily for a
It
one night
probably
stand.
works in a big if you throw it out
But-
there long.
I'm a big believer in you either have it or you don't. You know what I mean?
Right.
But
No, you can-
I
but
do.
you can-
yeah, you-
I
you
do
got
believe
self-development,
Yeah,
man.
I do believe a lot
Makes you feel better.
hardcore in personal improvement. Right. So you got to work with what you got within the limitations.
Personal improvement
but you
trickles
can
down to every part
but
of
you
life.
yeah right once you improve some part of yourself and learn that like process of like the thought process of like goal setting and not being set down but not being overcome by failure and all this other stuff, like, all right, and we'll just get into it. Like,
The obstacle is the path.
all right, I have a question. Do you know what a gypsy switch is?
Never heard of that.
Well, you're about to hear it.
I've interviewed a real gypsy. She had a 7-foot snake that was behind me during the interview.
Macca,
Just
if you
so
had,
you know.
Macca,
some exotic illegal animal.
if you had to write a definition right now for what a gypsy switch is, could you articulate it?
I don't know, and I apologize if gypsy switch is offensive to anybody, but
It's very offensive.
yeah, I believe it's when. This is how I define it, and especially in my
Specific to me.
with the Candyman here, is that he will lead you to believe that you're doing one thing, and then when you get there, or he picks you up, you're doing something completely different.
Yeah. And I hate to tell you this, but you're balls deep in the middle of a gypsy switch right now.
Let's switch it up, baby. I'm ready for it.
You texted me earlier in the week, and last week, and you were like, "Hey, man, I'm listening to the podcast, and I want to come on, and I want to talk about this thing I'm doing." And I was like, "That's great. Win, lose, or draw, we got some cool guy coming on. He's going to talk about artist, filmmaking, and all the trials and tribulations he's been through." But secretly in the back of my mind, I knew that what I really wanted was to seduce you to move up to New England and work on production and film for our next level of our podcast. Because we're going to need a guy that can film and know about production.
If we get big, like we made it big.
No, in order to get big, we're going to need one.
I can consult. I can't tell you I'm going to move up here, but I'm happy to help in
People
whatever
ask me
way
to
I
do.
can.
People ask me to do art for them and restoration work that I do.
I'm
like, I can't do it for free. It's my career. That's like saying, "Can you work on my car at the auto body place?"
Just ask them what their budget is. Just ask them what their budget is.
Well, I do, and I'm like, "Can you make a decapitated head of myself?" It's like, "Yeah, sure, awesome, $3,000."
Secretly, this whole
want me to
thing
say?
has been a gypsy switch in my mind all week, and I didn't want to tell Macca about it because I wanted him to see it happen real time on
That cage is for you.
Yeah.
Oh,
it is.
Jesus.
No.
Too much Ragnar slobber in that thing.
Yeah, no, for sure.
Where is Ragnar?
Ragnar is in a safe place right now. So I mean,
I have been gypsy switched more times than I care to admit.
You're the king gypsy switch.
Well,
I've been gypped.
Well, I'll do something like gypsy. I haven't pulled a gypsy switch on Mac in a while, but it'll be like, "Hey, dude, want to grab dinner somewhere Wednesday night?"
Yeah.
And there's a period of time where like he was working like a block away from. It's like when the carbon footprint became a term and like green and all this other stuff. He was working like a block away from where he lived, and he just was like, there was like a 4-year period where he's like, "I'm not going to own a car. So it's bad for the environment, blah, blah, blah."
I've never owned a car.
There you go. You're from the city. So,
Never want to.
right. Yeah. No, it's a lot of work,
That's
money,
great.
time, bullshit. More trouble than they're worth most of the time.
It's
But
better to be driven than to drive.
I guess. Yeah, you're right, for sure. But yeah, I'd like pick him up to go somewhere and tell him we were going to dinner, but then we'd be like, boom. Yeah, we're going to dinner at the strip club. We're not going to the 99. They're sold out. We're going to the strip club.
Well, I'll gypsy switch you real quick.
Impossible. But
I'm happy to come up here and be here. You're my cousin, older than me by 4 years.
Yep.
And
Math? Is that-
ever since I was a kid, you were always the older cousin who was into cool shit that I was into.
Yeah.
Video games, fantasy stuff,
Yeah.
good ass 80s music, martial arts, ninja shit, and Asian girls. you know?
Guilty as charged.
You were not like anyone else in my family, and I looked up to you, and I still do look up
Well,
to you.
cousin John. I'm like cousin John Freitas. I'll say his name.
Yeah, I don't know John Freitas very well.
I look a lot like him.
All right.
I have his voice now that I get older. If I didn't work out,
You have to show me some pictures of him.
he looks like me, but like without working out.
All right.
So
A little
put like
slender.
a super dad bod on me, and add 10 years, and
Somebody told me that your dad now, you have 4 kids, whatever. You're almost 40. You have to have a dad bod. You can't like better yourself like that. Like I was like, what the fuck? Why
no,
not?
that's not
I can
in
get
there.
in shape
That's
anytime
never,
in my life.
never listen to
So
other
stupid.
people say.
Oh no,
listen to
and it's
yourself.
always people. Who,
self
like,
improvement's good for you, man.
Yeah,
any way you cut it.
People resent it. I've gotten so much shit getting.
I think
out
you're one.
there.
I told my cousin this week. I think you're one of the most successful people I know in the categories of life that
outside of finances.
yeah, in the
People-
categories of life that really matter at the end. You know, like
I
when you're
agree
about
with
to
that.
die. When you're
Hell
when you're
yeah.
about to die and you're looking back and you're about to just You know, you're not like,
Yeah.
oh man, I wish I made $1 million more. You know, you might regret something like
I
that.
would-
But
I-
most
there-
of it's like you think about the people you love.
Sometimes
and
second guess
care.
be like, do you like? I could have got. I'm good at like studying and getting into things.
I think you're
go
great.
balls deep. I could have done it with finance and stocks if I wanted to, but I did it with art.
Hey,
So I don't know.
I think you're a good husband, a good friend, and a good dad. That's all you can ever say about somebody,
Well,
right? You
Butter
know
me
what I mean?
up. It's good.
I'm
feel good.
not gonna butter you up. I want to put a
I'm just saying,
suppository
I
up
feel
your
good.
anus. That's how I'll do it.
Well, that's happening the next time I'm concentrated.
I'll do it. You've saved my face more than once. You know, it's like
Yeah, we could talk about that story soon.
yeah, we'll talk about it. Billy, anything?
brother wanted us to.
What else you got, man?
So I'm also interested in like the history of this phenomenon, the archetypes,
Podcasting?
Odysseus. No, mass shootings.
Oh, mass shootings. Okay,
yeah,
sorry.
Coming back. We're
Sorry.
We're
I'm a
circling back.
narcissist. I thought it was about me. Go ahead.
Is that an ongoing thing, or is it just for this one documentary?
If you haven't figured
What do you
that
mean?
out.
You don't know.
You're studying this now to make a documentary.
Right.
At least I know it.
What has it started? I mean,
I'm halfway through production. I filmed about
okay.
13 interviews. I've got about
Okay.
12 more to go. Yeah.
wow,
What a
that's very cool.
you know, you guys both, Dan and William, work in this like basically like you're chasing your dream, and it just takes huge balls to do it, man. To step like you got
You only get one life.
you only
Yeah,
get
like-
exactly.
I can't go through my 30s again, like or my 20s, like.
But you know, like you only have like so much approval from the family to like veer off of that model.
I
of,
think you're
like,
gonna give it up eventually and straighten up.
like you've got like people in the family are, if you didn't make it right out of college and get like a gig and succeed,
Like, what's the rush?
like my kid she used to want to be an actor. She doesn't talk about it as much anymore, but I was explaining it to her. I was like, just one time about, it's just like professional athletes. It's like, if you want to make it in anything, there's competition. And there's all these obstacles in
Big
the way,
competition,
and to succeed is hard, and it requires failure, multiple,
100%.
Absolutely.
multiple,
Over and over and
yeah,
over and
multiple
over again.
failure, exactly.
Yeah.
And so like people that are successful people are like the type of people that are like fuck, like everyone else is crazy but me. That's the way their mentality is. Like everyone else is nuts except for me. I'm doing this. I'm not going to be stopped. I don't care what anyone has to fucking say. This is what I'm doing, and that's it. And if you do that, eventually you hit pay dirt and get traction. But there's so many other people out there trying to do it. You're just a drop in the bucket. So it's a competition. But I respect you guys for
Be the best at
following
what
it.
you do. Be good at what you do.
Yeah, man.
You never be the best, but be good at what you do.
I think you when you do stuff like this, you have loved ones that are like
Concerned about you.
right, and it's both. It's from a loving standpoint. They're like, what what is this? Where's it going? But you have to burst through that to do what you want to do.
It's a bubble.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's resistance. There's the fear of the unknown. If you're doing something that is unfamiliar to the rest of your circle, they're obviously not going to know. And the
Right.
biggest fear is the fear of the unknown. So their imagination can run wild with worry. But, if you know your shit and you're confident in yourself, and most importantly, if you're open to that criticism from the outside world, because ultimately what you're creating, you want to have an impact on people, you have to value the feedback that you get from other people.
True that.
So you have to. This is a self-improvement thing. I'm not like this amazing filmmaker, and I'm so talented. I've just worked really hard at it, had a lot of failures, a lot of trial and error, a lot of mistakes. You learn from your mistakes, you keep going, you have your goal, and you work towards that goal. And your only failure is giving up. That's the only real failure. So as long as you're determined to never ever give up, which especially with this film, there's no doubt. There is zero doubt. I have eradicated doubt. Doubt was on the boat at one point. I threw that motherfucker off, and he is drowning in the fucking river.
Arnold Schwarzenegger doesn't like Plan B. He says if you have a Plan B, you're not committing 110% to Plan A.
Yeah, it's Plan B is
know?
a little bit of fear.
You're like, okay, I have to like hedge my bet. Like people like that, you'll see that like successful people are risk takers. They're ready to gamble. I hate to quote him because he was a horrible character, but Stannis Baratheon, before he marches on Winterfell, even though the numbers are against him and even though it's snowing and all this other stuff, he's like, the time is now, and I will risk everything because if I don't, I lose everything. You know what I mean? And he ends up losing anyway. But he knows that, like, I'd rather be dead than not have this dream I'm going after, and I'm going to go after it with everything I've got. And you either kill me or I win.
That's exactly what I'm doing with the movie.
That's
I've sacrificed everything else in my
I
life to
respect
make
that.
this thing happen.
When do you hope for it to come out?
sometime in 2022.
Or dope.
I've already been working on it 5 years, believe it or not.
Wow.
We started filming on the 20th anniversary of Columbine in Littleton, Colorado. Being present for the 20th anniversary was an extremely powerful experience.
Anyone else working on it? Are you guys like the only guys in the industry?
Well, there's other documentaries about mass shootings, but they focus typically on a specific attack. Right, we're looking at the phenomenology of it, the history of it. We're not
Either way, you can make
emphasizing
another
one particular one. The only movie that's even close to what we're doing that I can reference is Bowling for Columbine. That's it.
I mean, there's like 10, 20 different shark movies out there, and there's like a bunch that suck. They're either a good shark movie, they're a bad one.
The shark,
So
I love it. You hit it. You hit it.
you know what I mean? Like you can make a documentary about something that somebody else has already made one on. You either make a good one or you don't. You either paint it and tell the story right, or you don't.
Well, you guys know Shark Week on Discovery Channel, right? So everyone's afraid of sharks, right, in the ocean. But you can't let just because sharks are in the ocean doesn't mean you should let it stop you from living your life how you want to live it and going in and swimming.
I'm not going in the ocean.
But
buddy.
when
I'm
you
not going in the ocean either.
my documentary from mass shootings, it's like you got to learn about the sharks to learn what happens if you unfortunately ever are attacked one. I watched Shark Week. I know. You punch them in the nose, you poke them in the eye, you do what you got to do, you
gotta
put
know
the
that.
tourniquets on. So it's like for mass shootings, you know, you got to live your life and be able to send your kid to school and go to a concert and go to a theater, you know, without that fear. But you got to know where your exits are. You know, you got to know what the signs are. If your kid has a friend who's messed up, or your kid is messed up, your kid is writing in a journal or writing a plan or is having trouble with women or whatever. You just gotta educate yourself.
Unfortunately,
You gotta keep your dick up.
These kids, unfortunately, a lot of these kids are neglected and abused by their parents. So I don't think they have like the oversight of
Neglect is huge too. It's a different type of abuse. Just like you got to do things with your kids. Like,
Yeah.
Look, it's scary, it's horrific, it's traumatic. It's one of the worst fucking things that could ever happen.
You're
to
dealing
people.
with a very
But
small
if you don't
percentage.
study it, if you don't learn from it, then it's all in fucking vain. You know, like Las Vegas. If we let this attack happen and we don't try to get the truth, if we just swallow whatever the narrative is that they try to tell us on Ellen or from the press conferences with the chief,
she's a vile twat.
then we're
Ellen DeGeneres?
Yeah.
She plays Dory in the fucking.
Let this man finish his.
yeah. I'm just saying, man. It's my documentary is gonna be Shark Week for mass shooters.
Really?
You know, and you're gonna learn, and it's gonna be scary. It's gonna be tough. But you're going to come away with tools and knowledge that will help you live your life with less fear.
That's dope right there.
Fear is the path to the dark side.
One thing that sucked me in down the rabbit hole when I started researching the film is I started to see things I had in common with the killers. Right? Which was a very unsettling thing. And the first thing that I noticed I had in common was a lot of these killers are obsessed with researching the history. And knowing the lists and the rankings.
What are you telling me? I got to keep an
and
eye on you?
I had a list. And I was like, oh, shit. Which is why I ended up calling the FBI and telling them, hey, I should be on an active shooter watch list because of my search history. Because I've been researching this for years.
You threw that out there to them?
I called them. I cold called them.
What'd they say?
Well,
That's a great idea. But
It's going to be in the movie.
That's dope.
Oh, you did it for the movie. I see.
So you were checking to see if they even had anything on you or what?
Exactly. Get ahead of the problem. You know, report.
Right.
You know, get ahead of the eight
Interesting.
ball.
Did these guys even flag everybody?
Yeah, but they basically told me
Pretty
to
sure
go,
they got
go
it.
talk to my local police, which in Brooklyn was the whatever local precinct for the NYPD. The police didn't
Like register a
the police thought
journalism
I was
report or
crazy
something?
because they didn't believe that I called the FBI. That's like you go to the police and you talk about FBI or CIA, they automatically think you're fucking crazy.
Are you a journalist?
Especially the CIA.
Investigative journalist.
Are you an
my friend.
investigative journalist?
You got-
Investigative
Gonzo?
journalist? Yeah, I'm a guerrilla. Documentary filmmakers are often guerrilla filmmakers.
I see a lot of like.
I've broken the law so many times in the name of making movies
So
and
journalism,
trespassing and all
journalism's
kinds of
like a protected thing, and you hear about like on TV or maybe it's fiction. I don't fucking know. Life's a dream. They like a press pass. They have like a press ID, and they can get behind police lines or like talk to the mayor or something, right?
Right.
Do you have to like should you get one of those so you don't get
I have,
arrested? 'Cause,
when I went to the 20th anniversary
it's a good idea.
of Columbine,
if it's a thing, you should get one.
Yeah, no, it depends on the circumstance.
It would be legit.
In
too.
some
It would feel
circumstances,
good. Imagine just showing up and being like,
Yeah.
it's William O'Mara.
You got the badge.
I have the press
Yeah.
pass. I'll be behind this line.
I've done that plenty of times throughout the making of this film where I've been officially registered. And then other times it's better to be low key and you don't want them to know. Like I'm talking to this kid in prison. Now there's a lot of red tape and legalities about going to interview people in jail, right?
How'd you set it up? Talk to his lawyer.
I wrote him a letter in the mail, and he wrote back. He talked to his lawyer. They researched me, found out I was legit, and they're like, "Yeah,
Did he put you in the visitors list?
I'm working on it.
I'm asking because
he has COVID right now.
I want to get cyber.
Shit.
He's locked down.
Jesus.
All those guys in prison. It's like the senior citizen homes and the prisoners. They're in the petri.
Are they wearing masks in
true.
prison?
I don't know.
I
about
wondered that.
I don't know.
Yeah.
My buddy told me the other day, because he's a guard, that they had 545 males and 13 females confined in Billerica right now. That's the inmate population. And that's a county prison, not a federal one. Federal. This guy's in federal jail. They got hundreds of people, thousands.
No, the guy I'm talking to is in a state prison.
What's it? Okay, but what's it like? You go up there. Is it like it? I mean,
Well, I haven't gone to the prison yet. It's in New Mexico.
so you haven't met this cat.
I'm going to get permission from the warden. You have to talk to the warden and get specific permission from the warden
man.
of the prison.
You need the man's
And you have to
permission.
promise not to talk about the conditions in the prison in the interview.
Right.
That's when they don't want any negative light on
How do
them.
they ever have any prison condition exposed?
Well, you guys all watch, TV shows.
Star
and shit.
Trek.
There's interviews with prisoners on TV, on Netflix, on fucking 2020. They
Yeah.
interview people in jail all the time.
Yeah.
You know?
I'm just trying to figure out if the warden's, censoring everything that comes out. How does anyone ever get in there and, sing the song? But I guess it's just people that have
Sneak
been
a phone and
It's highly regulated.
drones. That's how they were getting things in. When drones came out, my buddy that works at the jail was like, bro, you're not going to believe this, but we have to put a mesh over the fucking, like a dome over the prison because people were flying weapons and just contraband. You don't have to say
Mostly.
drugs, whatever, but they're flying contraband, cell phones, drugs, little knives, whatever, mostly drugs and cell phones, up over the fucking prison wall. Oh, hey.
Amazon delivery.
Yeah, they got it on video. I got it on video. I
Genius.
dropped it right below the third bench in the fucking gym. You'll find it. It's right there. I mean, ingenious. But one more thing they got to worry about. So you're making a cutting edge, raw deal mass killing video
Documentary.
Documentary.
I don't know why.
It's a videotape.
It's a video.
We're shooting on video.
Yeah, it's
so
on VHS.
I have some videotapes to return.
No.
It's on VHS exclusively. You've been working on it for 5 years.
Yeah, started filming in April of 2019, so only started filming recently. But the pre-production
Yeah,
and
of
research,
course, dude. You don't have to tell us.
getting the money takes a long time.
Yeah, you don't have to tell us. We had to work like 5 bunch of times here before we could even get the recording equipment going.
Mm-hmm.
We fried out a mic. We were banging things like in Zoolander when like they're trying to figure out how to get the files out of the computer. That's what we were like trying to set this equipment.
Anything worth doing takes
By
time.
we, I mean me and Dan. Sean was very cool, calm, and collected, and he didn't smash or get angry, and there were no outbursts. But Dan and I were not having it. Surprisingly enough, yeah. So I don't know who. You said you interviewed the lady who lost the kid. Is this like a whole, like, what's the interview number on this thing? Is it like 10, 20 people? Is 1 or 2? You're
What
trying
do
to
you
put together
in totality?
Yeah, I'm just asking. Like you said, you did a lot of research, so I'm just trying to understand when this thing comes out, what to expect. Is it like?
There's a lot of archival videos.
Do you do a lot of voiceover?
So there's a lot of news stories covering the attacks. There's a lot of firsthand material from the killers themselves, recording themselves and recording their manifestos.
This is public information, or
posting
you had to
online.
like
public
go after?
information. You have to go. Some of it you have to go after, like the transcripts for the basement tapes from Columbine. They destroyed those tapes. They leaked the tapes to Time Magazine, and Time Magazine did an article about the contents of the recordings of the Columbine killers making their plans. The families got super pissed off because they hadn't even been allowed to see the tapes yet. Anyways, they destroyed the tapes, but the transcripts are online. So if you want to go online and read what Dylan Klebold and Eric Harris were talking about when they were recording themselves in the basement making the plan, you can do that. And it was from those transcripts that I
fucked up too.
I
when
put
you
a
get-
scene in my play, their last final message before going to the school. They said, "Goodbye, Mom. I'm sorry." They talk a lot about they had good parents, good family. Don't blame the parents. They had no idea. There's nothing they could have done.
It's like they almost know that they're fucked up and they're doing some horrible thing, but they're just going to go do it anyway. They're like, "Hey,
They said this is war. There was an act of war.
High
They were
school's
trying
not
to
the end all
start
be all, though.
a thing."
Why do people feel like high school's the end all be all? Somebody needs to tell them that it's not.
I don't know." It's like
Not the end of it.
What do you
That's
think
what Trey Parker talked about in Bowling for Columbine.
Oh, that's
creator of
right.
South
That's
Park.
right. You're right.
Yeah.
That's right.
what do you think that's about, Macca? The high school thing.
I forgot about
because that's where it's just like the point in
That's
your life.
That's the
where
last
your
time you're a
brain
kid and
is-
you turn into an adult.
Yeah, and your brain is still at this weird development moment, and you're everything you're reacting on is about making yourself feel good, and you're not afraid really of anything.
It just feels like
that.
everything at that age. You know,
Right.
Anything that happens is like this massive thing.
Yeah. Yes. You're acting on fucking your emotions of like, oh, I want this. I need this.
The girl I wanted rejected me.
Yeah.
Now I'm gonna fucking go kill her. You know.
And there's no logic. Your logic comes later in life. Like right now, you're like, oh, I can't do that. It's unsafe. Where back, when you're in high school, 8th grade and shit. I mean,
I wish logic ran more in my life. It's 100% emotional reaction. Mostly.
Yeah, but
it's like 95%
not as
emotionally
much
driven.
as you were in high school. Like
Maybe, yeah, no, for sure.
so, but
I've reduced it by 3%.
There's your emotional intelligence isn't developed yet, and you're reacting on what you want.
No,
at
it's
the
my
most in your
pain
life.
pleasure receptors need to be in like everything I do is about stimulating
Hedonistic.
everything I do is about maximizing
Pleasure-seeking.
the pleasure seeking. That's it. Everything I do is just a means to that
Right.
end, and that's the simple truth about who I am. So someday, if my great grandkids, that's what's cool about making your work is that even if nothing happens. Even if you don't succeed, right? Like whatever that, like become the great Hollywood, like you're already a success, dude. You're out there, you're doing what you want to do. You're putting out a message. You've got a piece of work that you put together. You left it behind. It doesn't matter if you did 1 or if you did 100. You left something. You tried. You made your mark.
Everyone has to define success for themselves in life.
Yeah, right.
You can't get success externally, and someone can't tell you what success is.
I
If you
know.
buy into that, you're never going to be happy.
That's the whole problem. That's,
You gotta-
that's
you
the
gotta
whole
make your
problem with
own
society.
definition. Mhm.
Everyone's trying to paint this idea of what success is, and nobody fits in it except a small amount of people. And it's like everyone's miserable. But it all comes down to materialism. Got to get rid of less stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So. What do you got? Anything else? You
guys know Dante's Inferno?
Man, you are
story?
fucking prepared today.
I don't know that story.
My God, man.
Really? You never read that in high school or anything?
We've never had
It's a
somebody
poem
here
in
in
Italian. So in Italy,
Talking
interestingly
about
enough,
purgatory and shit.
yeah,
We're talking about the
hell. The Inferno is hell.
Talking about the layers of hell.
Purgatorio and Paradiso
It's like
were parts 2
Frozen.
and 3. But guess what? Hell was the most interesting fucking.
But it was
book that he
frozen,
wrote.
not on fire.
It was called the Divine Comedy, and basically what he did was he visualized what his idea of hell was based on religious teachings. Is 9 circles of hell,
Ooh,
right?
wait, can I
and he
say?
put his contemporaries he didn't like in hell. That's where the joke part comes.
right.
Yeah, we're on this level for these fucking thieves, and this
Right.
asshole's in here, and this asshole's getting this
Tiers.
treatment. Yeah,
it's
tiers.
hierarchical, but down.
Yeah. So the 7th circle of hell was for mass murderers and warmongers. Well, the first circle of the 7th ring was for mass murderers and warmongers. Then you go from there to the forest of suicides. No surprise that the mass murderers are right next to the suicides, right? Because so many mass shooters kill themselves afterwards. But who was the guardian to the 7th circle? Who was the
Cerberus, the 3-headed dog.
It was the Minotaur tearing at his own flesh.
Really? Another?
The archetype of rage, right? And the Minotaur was a creature that was locked away in a labyrinth because it was deemed too violent and horrible for society to even know about. So you couldn't even. It was.
You should try to have a debate with this kid's father, FYI. They'll fucking put you in your place.
But
He knows a thing or two about a thing or two.
But so with the no notoriety movement, you have all these people saying, "Don't say the killers' names. Don't say their names." It's feeding them. It's like they're trying to write they're trying to write the killers out of the history books.
Yeah, well-
which is wrong on so many levels because you're never going to learn the lessons if you're not studying the people, and if you're pretending it doesn't exist or it never happened, you're never going to learn anything.
Oh, I think that's what there's a lot of like Holocaust conspiracy theorists that they feel like the whole Holocaust is a made up thing. That never happened. Like, to me, that's insane. I'm like, you got like all these World War II vets that were there that like, everyone had a granddad who knew about it. You know what I mean? I don't know.
But you had Attila the Hun, you had Alexander.
Oh,
the Great.
dude, there've been mass.
They were
Genghis Khan.
The 7th circle, the warmongers. How they ended up was in
Whoa,
a river
Alexander
of blood.
the Great ends up down there, man.
He's in a river of blood that's
Some fucked
boiling.
up shit.
And if you're trying to escape from the river, if you're trying not to drown in the boiling river of blood, you're going to get shot at full of arrows from senators patrolling. the
Gotcha.
sand.
Do you remember the affair one? If somebody's having an affair and their wife, the two people that are having the affair, they have to like they go around in the circle and their naked bodies touch real close and then it goes away. It's like a tease.
It's all a tease.
When I was
All
a
hell it
kid,
is.
I was like, well, at least you get to see a naked body for the rest of eternity. Like I thought that was like
doesn't sound so bad.
It doesn't sound so bad, and now it's like that's hell.
Right.
Well, your perspective has changed now
Yeah,
that you've been on the other side.
Yeah.
The only thing I know about Dante's Inferno is that I had to read it sophomore year. Hell was the cold. The further down you got, the colder it got, not
Yep.
the hotter, and
Yep.
and that Satan himself was trapped in the ice, which was actually being created by the flapping of his wings. So he was like, it was
He
the
had
whole
Brutus in one mouth.
the whole place is just about getting fucked. Like it's about frustration, being out of balance.
But it's the path to paradise. You have to go through hell to get to paradise.
I don't
You
know.
have to go through.
I
the
thought if you're
darkness
just good,
to
you
reach
just
the
go
light.
to.
I hope I wink out of existence when this body dies.
None of that exists.
I hope I just psst, I'm gone. They'll be like, there was this dude. He was here. Now he's not. That end of story. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
My kid acts a lot like me, so I presume I'm just acting like some other asshole that was alive 200 years ago. I don't really remember.
Very, very possible. John Freitas, maybe?
No. But his dad, I look like his dad.
We all have a doppelganger too.
No, I think you look like there's been like 20 of you throughout history, and I'm not saying that that person, just physiologically, the way you look and act, I'm not saying that their consciousness is the same, because it could just be like a biological machine. But whatever runs that machine gets passed on. So there could be like another me in 100 years that's similar, but not exact.
Well, our mutual grandfather, Evangelos Stavrakis, would quiz me every Sunday. We went over to their house. He'd quiz me because his family's from Ithaca, which is the home of Odysseus.
I know
and he
that's
would
a big
quiz me
deal.
about Odysseus and who was Odysseus' son. And I would go Telemachus.
I will say that he would not be a fan of the content of this podcast in general, but he is one of the main guys and people in my life that like made me realize like, yo, I'm going to be a scientist, or that I'm into science.
He was a
Apparent-
Renaissance man for sure.
Yeah, he's a Renaissance man, and I would have like. If I could aspire to be like him in any way, it would be that way. My other grandfather was like way cooler.
But for me, when I was a kid, hearing about Odyssey every week, I never made heads or tails of it. And then when I started working on this film, I was very interested in war veterans who had committed these crimes. So during Veterans Day week in New York, I went to a play about Ajax, which was for war veterans and their
He was the
families.
big, strong one.
What did Ajax do? He lost his mind, killed a bunch of cattle, thinking it was his superiors, because he was pissed off that Achilles' armor went to Odysseus instead of him, because he was best friends with.
Dude,
You know.
this guy's gonna go down for the count. Keep going on with that stuff.
All right.
Keep him in the loop.
It's close to my bedtime. I wake up at 6. So.
Yeah.
The point is that I realized when I was working on this film that Odysseus was the first mass shooter, and that it was my obligation as a descendant, potentially, of Odysseus, because our family's from Ithaca, small island where he was king.
You
It
felt
was
like-
my obligation to tell this story
All right.
and remind people about the ancient meaning of what the ending of the Odyssey was really
I
about.
think I'm a Spartan.
Man.
I think I heard that.
100%. 100%.
Didn't I hear that?
They were short.
Yeah.
No, and think about it. They were my cousins from there, and they're all short, and they have huge calves.
We could talk about They
And
had
what's
long hair,
easier?
too, I'm
What's
pretty
easy?
sure.
What's easier to cover up with a shield, a short guy or a big tall guy? Who's got a lower center of gravity? What's gonna
Short guy.
What's gonna work better in a shield
When
wall?
I wrestled, I loved wrestling tall.
Don't get
guys.
me wrong, the Vikings were fucking big and they made a shield wall work, but the Spartans, I think, were generally not super tall guys. So listen, man, we're running 2.5 hours deep. This guy's about to conk
longest
out.
one we've ever had.
Yeah, he's gonna die in a minute.
All good. We covered a lot already.
I'm
good.
so happy you came up from Jersey. It's cool that you have a really cool perspective. I want to gypsy switch you to come do the film production. Matt, you got something? You got
We should do a part 2 when we get.
Yeah.
When the movie comes out. Yeah, when the
no
movie comes
doubt.
out.
I just want to say, like, I want you close us out with where we can find information about you, the movie, and other movies, other stuff.
Because we're still in production mode, so we're not at the point where we're really trying to put it on blast
Promote
yet.
it.
Right.
Yeah, promote it yet. But I do have an Instagram page for it called American History S, and you can follow it on us on Instagram. We're about to be more active on there, and you'll hear a lot more about it. I'm sure I'll probably come back on the podcast again in a year from now when the movie's out, and be on the lookout.
One day we'll have the technology and we'll actually use it with Colin. But anyway, listen, thanks
We have it.
for listening in, guys. Until next time, question everything.